is about the size of a golf ball.
Okay.
And it's got this really weird divot in the front of it, which, along with the fact that it's got grooves around the outside, everybody goes crazy for. And they all say it looks like the Death Star.
Well, it kind of does.
That's kind of the best facts that we've got about these things on the start.
It could have been an alien blueprint for the Death Star. It's using a strange three-dimensional blueprinting technology.
They did a 3D print of it, and then they dropped it, and it fell to Earth.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the Rebel Alliance actually stole the blueprints and then, dropped it on Earth because nobody would ever find it on Earth.
I guess, I think it is fair to say it does kind of look that way, though.
The one that you see all the time kind of does.
Kind of.
Well, except the Death Star actually only had one groove around the middle. This one has three.
True.
Yeah.
That's why it's kind of.
No, the one that's got the hole in it, it just has the one.
Oh, you're right. It does have the single groove. Yeah, you're right. It is a single groove.
Oh, my God. It is a Death Star.
It looks exactly like the Death Star. That is so crazy. We're going to have to, of course,
that's probably the one that we put up.
Picture.
Yeah.
You know
it'll probably go up on our website.
What they need to do is scientists need to get a basketball and sort of put that thing in orbit around the basketball and see if some rays come out of it and destroy the basketball.
Totally, yeah.
Oh, and before I forget, I know we left Fantasyland already, but Joe and I were chatting about this earlier, and I'd forgotten about this piece of the story until he brought it up, was about the fact that these things rotated.
Yeah, that's they're supposedly according to, I shouldn't say according to, but Rolf Marx, the former curator of the Klerksdorf Museum. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was quoted as saying that they were stored in vibration-free cases, and yet they turned around on their axes all on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I do think,
and we'll debunk that in a minute. But
one of the interesting things is, like, I was just looking at pictures because I'm really good at focusing on what we're doing here.
Yes,
and it's like there's this outer crust and then the inner layer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of them have that inner layer, and you cut it in half, and it's distinct. Right. Yep. And I think that's a thing that you see a lot in weird things that obviously they don't rotate on their own, but might, I don't know, like be more prone to rotating. Maybe it was a misinterpretation of like, if you spin it, it rotates really well or something.
I'll tell you what, Joe.
Yeah.
Go ahead and spill the beans on what happens and why these things rotated.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so this of course made its way 20 times around the world before somebody bothered to actually contact this guy, and that's Rolf Marx, former curator of the Klerksdorf Museum.
Sure.
Somebody contacted him and asked him about this, and he said that no, what he had told people is that they were sitting in cases, and because there's a lot of mining operations nearby, there's explosions going off in the earth, and there's vibrations all the time and tremors in the earth. And these things were not in vibration-free cases. They were in cases that were vibrating because of all the mining going on around. And so naturally they were moving around a little bit on their own, and that's really, really creepy, although maybe not so much. I mean, because,
And then the story got spun around, so now they're vibration-free cases.
Let's put some more credit where credit is due. This guy, he's in charge of, or he's credited with perpetuating a lot of these crazy things, but as soon as somebody contacts him, he's like, that's not what I said at all.
Yeah.
You guys are idiots.
Well, and here's the great thing. That's a perfect place to start. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and let's talk about some of this story and where it came from originally and how it got so fantastical so fast.
Great, yeah.
The first time the story came out was it 1982, Joe?
Well, apparently in 1979, and October 2nd, 1979, issue of the National Enquirer. And then
you've got the National Enquirer.
And then the same article or somewhat modified article was published in the June 11th, 1982 issue of Scope magazine.
Yeah, and just so everybody understands, Scope is a tabloid.
Scope is
South Africa.
Yeah, every country has to have one.
Yeah,
and
at least one.
It was known for inflating its stories just to make giant headlines, just to sell a paper.
Kind of like CBS.
Or the Weekly World News.
Yeah, totally.
Which, coincidentally, the Weekly World News published this story several years after the fact.
Oh, yeah.
Of course they did.
You didn't know they recycled stories endlessly?
I didn't realize they did that. I thought Bat Boy was just always up to funny hijinks.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we can see really easily how this thing got so crazy so quickly.
Yeah.
With so many made-up claims.
Absolutely.
Is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
The thing that I said earlier about NASA having gotten a hold of some of these and being perplexed and not knowing how they were made and why they were so perfectly balanced, yeah, that never happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's no record at NASA of anybody ever giving them one of these and examining it.
Yeah, I think that actually I might have an answer to that one, too.
Oh, do you?
Maybe.
Yeah,
And
you
actually,
did
I
more
should get
research
some,
on this than I did.
I should get some credit for this. So a guy named Paul Heinrich wrote an article in a publication called Reports of the National Center for Science Education. His article is called The Mysterious Spheres of Ottosdal, South Africa. And it was published in 2008.
Okay.
And he was the one that came up with that thing earlier. He was the one that he actually found the first publication of this in the National Enquirer. So this guy actually did all of our homework for us. So thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul Heinrich. We really appreciate that. So he said, this is probably where the NASA thing came from. So for a brief time, the Klerksdorp Museum webpage had the text of a letter from a guy named John Hunt of Pietersburg, South Africa. And this letter claimed that the results of an examination of one of the objects by the California Space Institute, which is a research unit at the University of California, found all sorts of fantastic things. They said that its balance is so fine, it exceeded the limit of their measuring technology, and was
Thinking sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey guys, welcome to an episode of Thinking Sideways, the podcast.
An episode?
Well, I'm not going to say another because maybe this is their first.
Good point.
It's an episode.
okay.
Yeah, I'm Devin. I'm joined by
Steve.
and
Joe.
we're going to talk about an unsolved mystery.
Yeah.
In case that's not how you found us.
This is a big one too.
It's you know
God.
what? I actually
It's
think
heavy.
this one is really, really interesting. It is not so big, but it was heavy.
Yeah, I had a really hard time in the research of this. Just there's so. You and I talked about this earlier. There's a lot of minutia in it.
Yeah.
And I started getting a headache.
Yeah.
You can only
I
go
can
so
see how
deep
that
into
could
this.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the Kensington Rune Stone today.
Is it Runestone or Runestone?
It's Rune Stone.
Okay, Runestone.
Yeah. In 1898, a Swedish immigrant named Olaf Ullman found a 200-pound slab of sandstone, also called gray stone because it's gray, but it's sandstone,
Okay.
in Solem, Minnesota. It was found when he was clearing an area of what some websites report is unclaimed, but upon further digging was totally his property. But it was just kind of an empty
Maybe that
parcel
meant,
of land.
Maybe they meant unreclaimed.
Yeah, unreclaimed
less-
maybe.
Yeah.
But he was clearing trees from it, and he fell a tree, and there was a stone that was entwined in the roots. Probably, again,
As always, the stories vary.
90% of the stories, and I'm inclined to believe that it was entwined in the roots, but
Well, there's some evidence to show that there were roots growing against it, whether it was on the ground and they were directly under or it was underground.
It was underground. It wasn't. You couldn't see the top of it. You couldn't see any part of it from the ground. But whether it was actually entwined in the roots or if it was kind of just nearby, hard to tell.
Hard to tell. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is not like the internet retelling. It's hard to tell. Literally, the 3 people that were there when it was discovered, none of them can agree. Like, they don't remember actually what day it was found, or like what time of day, or what exactly they were doing, or anything like that.
One of those situations.
It's one of those. So
That's why, eyewitness testimony is
it's
really,
hard.
It's very unreliable.
Well, it's so varied. One person said, "Oh yeah, it was November 8th," and the other one said, "No, it was August 11th." Right, 11/8 or 8/11. It's hard to tell. So
Confusion.
we're just gonna say, I think it was entwined in roots
In the fall of
in the
1898.
fall of 1898. He named this stone after the closest settlement, which was Kensington, because
I thought he was in Solon, Minnesota.
he was, but that's like the county area.
Oh,
The closest settlement was Kensington. Town, village,
okay.
I guess. It was very small.
Large settlement. We'll go with that.
Yeah. Grouping of people. The stone was covered in runes and was said to be from about 1362.
The year 1362.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the year 1362. It apparently tells the account of some Scandinavian explorers. And if this is the case, many of our listeners will have already realized that means that these Scandinavian explorers managed to, quote unquote, discover, right, the New World like 100 years before Christopher Columbus.
Actually, well over 100 years because
A little.
if you think about Europeans coming here, like the British and everybody like that, they settled on the coast, but we didn't actually penetrate as far into the interior as this for a long time after that.
Right. So
yeah,
yes, you're right. More
Yeah.
than 100 years before.
way back.
So the stone inscription has been translated a number of different ways. We're just going to use the text that's on Wikipedia to start with, and then we'll talk about some of the discrepancies later.
Got it. So this is our baseline.
This is our baseline. What I would say is pretty much accepted as the translation.
Okay.
And I should mention the front of the stone and then one of the sides of the stone are carved.
So we've got
So it's
four
kind
faces.
of a monolith in terms of shape. It's a rectangle. We've got 4 faces, 2, the front and back that are larger, and then 2 slimmer sides, and then a top and a bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing on top and bottom.
Nothing on top and bottom, nothing on
The back.
one of the sides or the back, but something on the, you'd call the front and one of the sides.
Okay. I think it's the front, and then is it the right side? If you were looking directly at the inscription, I believe it's the right side.
It's the left side.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So the front says 8 Gotlanders or Swedes and 22 Northmen or Norwegian on this acquisition journey from Vinland, far from the west. We had a camp by 2 shelters, 1 day's journey north from this stone. We were fishing one day. After we came home, we found 10 men red from blood and dead. Ave Maria, saved from evil. And then the side says, there are 10 men by the inland sea to look after our ships, 14 days' journey from the peninsula or island, year 1362.
The inland sea, referring perhaps to one of the Great Lakes?
It's possible. There's some theories out there that actually this little parcel of land that it was found on an incline or like a little grassy knoll area, and that it was kind of surrounded by wetlands much further away, but that at that time it could have been that it was more of a wetland lake area.
So the waters had receded.
So the waters
had dried out.
Yeah, since receded, but that the place that this stone was found was in fact a small island on a small body of water.
Okay.
But it could also be a Great Lake. It's not specified.
I've also seen stuff that's, to answer part of what your question is that to get there, they went north of the United States where our borders are, came in through Canada, and then that runs you into the Great Lakes. I can't remember the name of the inlet or the channel that you can use, but they use something like...
I don't know. I mean, there is a way to do that. I'm not sure. Are the lakes naturally interconnected? I should know this. They taught me this stuff in grade school.
I believe that for the most part they were. Maybe not enough to do large shipping vessels like today. That man altered that, but they were connected in some fashion. And so I think that is in the research that I was doing about how did they get there.
Yeah.
It's that the lakes are loosely interconnected, and so they theoretically could have made their way. It doesn't explain where the stone was found, but
Yeah.
it gets them into the area.
Ish.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big ish.
Ish. Kind of close to that area.
Yeah, and then they got to hoof it overland for quite a long ways.
For, a little ways for sure. So this stone was found and then kind of held on to a little bit. And then Oman kind of thought, well, maybe, I don't know, it says it's from 1362. This was his actual thought pattern, in case you guys were wondering. He wrote it down in his diary.
Okay.
He said, I don't know, like, it was kind of from... I'm kidding, sorry.
Now, when he found it, was he able to read the runes himself or decipher them?
So this is kind of one of the things about this story that's interesting. Most of the stories that you'll hear... There's two camps that you hear this story from, and they're both 100% sure that they're 100% right. One camp is, this is a huge hoax, this isn't actually from that time. The other camp is, no, this is real. And most of the people who say, no, this is real, they say it was real because the guy who found it was totally illiterate, which is not the case. This guy, Oman, was he was a Swedish immigrant. He went to school in Sweden where he would have learned runes. So word for word, perhaps not.
Were the runes in common usage in the end of the 1800s?
In Sweden still, yeah.
They were?
Okay,
Really?
that's what I wasn't sure, because I'd seen some stuff that said he would have had books with runes, but wouldn't have necessarily been reading runes.
I mean, it wasn't the number one of the languages, but it was still taught in school. Kind of like cursive is still taught in the United States. But
I didn't know they still taught cursive.
Yeah, they still teach it.
They still do?
Thank goodness.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
actually a
it's
good
one of
thing.
those things, right, where it's like, well, nobody uses that, but you learn it in school anyway.
Okay.
So.
All right.
So he likely would have been able to decipher at least some of it. Regardless, it was an old stone he found on his property, and he thought, hey, maybe we should get this assessed by somebody. So it was first assessed for authenticity by a professor at the University of Minnesota, and it's unclear if this professor saw the actual stone, like they actually took the stone to him to look at, or if one of these written copies of the text were just sent to him.
That would be a lot easier.
And
huh?
if it would be a lot easier, but it's been mentioned that most of the written copies of the text were kind of poorly and crudely done.
Well, were they handwritten copies or were they rubbings?
I think they were handwritten copies,
Okay,
like somebody who sat down and tried to write them, and that it may have been copied by somebody who didn't actually write runes that often or didn't know, so that it seems to be, there's definitely some speculation that the written copies of these runes were not good, maybe to the point of detrimentally to people being able to tell if linguistically it was correct or not.
Got it.
And a lot of the written copies of these have like very big differences in it. Lots of discrepancies happening. So I think it's likely that he actually just saw a piece of paper. But he dismissed it immediately. He said it was a really poor attempt at forgery. And like I said, I can't tell with 100% accuracy if he, saw the paper or not. But
if he saw the real thing.
Yeah, if it was the paper, I just want to say, like, well, how would he know?
And what was he a professor of? Linguistics?
Linguistics,
Okay.
yeah. Specializing in Norse and Swedish, Scandinavian runes.
All right. So he didn't like it.
He didn't.
Well, what next?
Then the stone, the actual stone, as far as I can tell, in 1899 was sent to Northwestern University. The opinion there was that while the stone itself was pretty weathered, the inscription seemed to be lighter and done more recently. The stone was photographed, and apparently some archaeological venture was done kind of near where the stone was found.
They were excavating where he said he found it?
Slightly, but I don't think it wasn't like a huge scale. They weren't, thinking, oh, there's a huge settlement here. We got to dig
6 feet
yeah,
down.
No, I think that it was just kind of some slight excavation around where he said he found the stone just to see. But he had been clearing the land, so it's not as though
That's a good
he wasn't
point.
preserving it. He didn't find the stone and go, oh no, I better stop felling all these trees and make sure that somebody could find something if there is anything.
Oh, yeah, I can see a year later. I think it was over there.
But that is literally what happened. I mean, as they started interviewing the three people, right? And as I said, like, they couldn't even agree on what month they had found it, let alone where they had found it. So,
well, if he's working the land and he's clearing trees and he's changing the topography, I don't know if either of you have ever been to a construction site where they're doing major grade work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you go on day one and you've got a good idea where things are, and then if you leave for a week, you're kind of lost because by the time you come back, everything has changed.
Yeah.
But stretch that over the course of a year, and you just kind of keep getting used to it little bit by little bit and don't quite remember where things were before. That's easy to understand why they had no idea where they found it.
Yeah.
True that. And I don't know if they all saw it. They didn't even see the runes to begin with, right? I mean, when they first uncovered the stone, the runes, they had
No, they saw. They did actually. They saw part of it, and they tried to clear. This is another thing that affects the ability to actually age it. The runes on the side were cleaned off with a nail.
Oh, nice.
So they just took a nail and scraped away, which would obviously alter the ability to actually accurately date when that had happened.
And that's part of the reason that they had a different color because they were freshly scraped.
So again, it's hard to tell with that if they just did a really good job scraping the runes clean so they could see what was going on or what happened there. Regardless, nothing was reported to be found from this excavation, exploration, whatever you want to call it. And the stone was returned to Oman in March of 1899. And since everybody said it was pretty much just worthless, it wasn't really an artifact, it was, totally fake, he just used it as a stepping stone, like the kind of entryway stepping stone to his granary.
Nice.
Just stuck it right in there. Fit runes down. He wasn't treading on the runes, but he just used it as the entry stone.
Well, the back side is the flat side.
Yeah.
So, of course, that'd be the one you'd use as a step.
Yeah. So he just did that.
Poor runestone. Just don't get no respect.
Yeah. So interest waned in this runestone, but it had been kind of a big media, been shipped around a little bit.
Not a lot happens in Minnesota that time.
But there had been some newspaper articles. It had been kind of a big deal. Everybody said that's a hoax, and he said, all right, fine, it's a hoax. I'm going to use it as a stepping stone. A historian, Mr. Holland, was investigating the possibility of a Norwegian settlement in Minnesota and became aware of the stone and became, of course, very interested in the stone as it might provide some, I don't know, evidence.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So he went over to the Kensington area and spoke with Oman about the stone, and they pulled it out of the ground, and he examined it. And at about this time, the Minnesota Historical Society decided, I guess we'll investigate this too.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, guys.
Oh, I guess we should, because it's popular again.
Yeah, the fact that Holland got interested in it, he kind of really drummed up a lot of support for its authenticity. He thought it was real, really kind of from the get-go, It was kind of one of those confirmation bias things where he thought, oh yeah, the Norwegians totally settled this area way earlier than we think. And then he heard about the stone and he said, see, it's real. Of course it's real, because I've been thinking this thing and now I found some proof for it. The Minnesota Historical Society hired a man named Newton Winchell, and he started collecting affidavits from the people who were there when the stone was found, and then also family and friends.
Olaf and his family.
Yeah. Kind of trying to, collect the stories of it and see if maybe they had created this forgery or anything like that. And he was also a geologist, so they thought that he would probably be a pretty good person to carry out this investigation.
I'm not sure why.
I don't know why. Yeah. But he interviewed a lot of locals as well as Oman's family and interviewed Holland and some linguists. And the linguists pretty much 2-1 said, no, this is a hoax. But Holland and Mitchell were both really convinced that it was real for a number of reasons that we'll lay out in a couple minutes.
All right.
Holland and Winchell definitely thought it was real. The reason that they think it's real is because linguists by and large are saying that the language used on this stone is not consistent with 11th century Scandinavian grammar, which is fair. The linguists were saying that it was a poor forgery of 11th century Scandinavian grammar, and it should be 14th century, so I'm not totally sure why it's the 11th century that they're talking about in terms of grammar. And, as we know, language is a living thing, so it does change. It allows people to be able to pinpoint and say, this is when this language is from, based on the slang or the way that grammar's used or cases or things like that.
Okay.
In some languages, that is true, I know, for both the written and the verbal form. For some other languages, though, I know that though the spoken version may ebb and wane back and forth and change, the written version is, not to make a pun here, but it's set in stone. It is one way. This is how it's done, and it's not built to be flexible, and it's not allowed to be flexible. So I wonder if that's why they're saying it's not consistent with the 11th century. And I unfortunately, I read this as well in the research and never thought to look into that. But I wonder if that's the reason, is that they say from time A to B, it didn't ever change.
Yeah, I think probably that's the case. I also think you have to take into consideration how long this group would have had to have been traveling to make it to Minnesota. So I think they, kind of backlog. Obviously not 300 years. They weren't obviously for 300 years, but if you can say, maybe 50 years, then...
Or 10.
Or even 10. I don't know. I don't know how long it takes Scandinavians to get across the ocean at this time.
And then make
make landfall and then make it all the way to Minnesota.
Yeah, I think that
seems
would
like
be the
it'd take a
tougher
while.
journey.
It would take, it's about a 6 to 9 month journey. I'm ballparking here, I'm guessing, to get from one to the other across the ocean. And then from there, the exploration process would be long and drawn out. So I could see where 10, maybe even 15 years, maybe, but I would imagine guys would get homesick after a while. But.
Yeah, you would think. But also, if they were around that long, you'd think there'd be more artifacts left over.
Yeah.
True.
Lots more.
Yes, that's true. The stone's ownership, you may be wondering, well, who owned the stone? Because Ullman owned it for a while. He owned it until 1907, at which point Holland purchased it for, I believe it was $10.
Oh,
good price.
Good deal.
Well, it was, $10 in
I know.
early 1900s, so that's a lot more than we normally think of it. But when you hear how much he tried to sell it for, you will realize it was absolutely a good deal. He tried to sell it to the Minnesota Historical Society for $5,000 in 1910. Holland did.
Well, that's some serious appreciation.
It is. Obviously, they said no, thank you. But in 1948, I guess I haven't really mentioned that the authenticity of the stone has never really been like everybody says it's it's a hoax or it's not. It's never been agreed upon. It's always had this huge ebb and flow. So it's gone through periods of legitimacy, validated by this fact that in 1948 the stone was on display at the Smithsonian Institute in D.C. for a full year, and they don't put things they think are fake in there usually.
Not normally.
Not usually.
Now they've displayed things they've discovered later on were fakes, but everything they can discern it's real. That's the only reason to go up.
Yeah. So the curator actually said of the stone that it is, quote, probably the most important archaeological object yet found in North America, unquote, when it was in the Smithsonian.
So apparently he was
he really thought it was real, obviously. After the year-long display in the Smithsonian, the stone was set up as a permanent exhibit, or I guess the only exhibit, at the Runestone Museum in Alexandria, Minnesota.
It'd be a small little museum.
I was just thinking, man, that can't be the most exciting museum to go to. Hey, kids, we're going to take a field trip. Yay.
Can you imagine being a tour guide at that museum? Okay, our next stop is this thing. That's our only stop, actually.
A stone.
Yeah.
And next up, a stone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's kind of an interpretive center as well, right? I mean, it's not just a stone in the middle of a room.
I'm sure.
It also was shown at the New York World's Fair.
It got around.
It did get around. It also went to Norway for a year or two. It's been around, and again, it's been this ebb and flow of how, when people are like on the it's a real train, it goes to interesting places, and when people are on the no, it's fake train, it stays boring.
I say it's real. It's a rock for sure.
It's definitely a rock. I would agree with
Joe
you. Yeah.
solved it. Right.
He
here.
solved it.
Yep, that's it. Okay.
Mystery solved. It's a
Yeah.
rock.
It's a
So
rock.
if you want to email us, yeah.
No, we got to talk about theories.
Oh, okay.
There's many of them?
There's a few. You know my MO is...
I was about to say, I'm looking at this, I'm like, wait a minute, you broke this up into 2 very big categories.
There's 4
It's real, it's not
categories.
real.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. Just look harder, Steve. There's 4 categories, technically.
Yeah, that's a technicality.
Yeah. But as I've said, I will say again, I will continue to say, everybody who's ever written about the runestone is 100% sure that they are 100% right, that it is either totally a hoax or totally not.
I know.
There's
I'm sure.
very little stuff out there about somebody saying, well, it could be this. And I did find 2 theories, and both of them are good, I think, that kind of land sort of in the middle, but everybody else is in their camp.
All right, well,
Right?
what's camp 1?
Camp 1 is it's a hoax.
Okay.
Here's why. This word that I'm going to make Joe pronounce and then I'm going to spell.
I don't know.
So it's
Dagslefard, but I know I'm mispronouncing that.
Well, it's a Norse word.
Yeah.
It's spelled Opdaglesefard, which was the word that's translated into Voyage of Discovery. And apparently it did not occur in the Norse language until several centuries after the 1362 inscription date, putting it in approximately the 16th century. There's a bit of controversy regarding this issue because one of the runes, which is the Thurs rune, the Thuriaz rune, so it can be used in a number of different ways. Runes are kind of tricky that way. Runes are phonetic in that, right, so it's not like each rune equates to one letter in the English language that spells out a word that probably doesn't even sound like you think it's going to sound because we don't say words the right way. It's each rune represents a sound.
Okay.
Okay, nodding slowly in this studio.
Yeah.
Yes,
Cool.
I'm on board with that.
All right.
So, yeah.
So there is a rune that's used in that word. The Thurs rune is how I'm going to pronounce it. And it could have been used to represent a T sound, which would have made the word that we spelled earlier, the Opspulfurkudfard, into a different word, which means journey of acquisition, which was a standard word that was used in the 14th century.
Okay.
Instead of the journey of discovery, which is the word that it's commonly translated as, which wasn't common until the 16th century.
Okay, because I was going to say, I know I had seen some sources that when I saw the translation, it was really weird because it was a word slash voyage of something, and pick. It was like choose your own adventure.
Absolutely.
A Mad Lib.
Yeah, and so I will mention that if this rune is used to represent the T sound, it's the only place it's used to represent that sound on the entire runestone. They use the more standard runes to represent that sound everywhere else. But it is speculated that it was that use of that word. I don't know. Maybe it's like I can't spell available to save my life, right? Everybody has those words where it's like, I think it's spelled this way, which I don't know. Maybe that.
So this guy had a little block when it came to that word.
Yeah,
okay.
Maybe.
So in other words, that
you're
whole...
carving in stone. It's not like you can erase, go back.
White out.
That doesn't exist. It's just whatever it is. The next issue is the issue of cases on the stone.
Is this as in
some
letter
linguistics.
cases?
No, it's in like tenses.
Okay. I was just trying to make sure because I never noticed. I always think of cases as upper and lower case like we do in English. So that's why I never saw anything like that. Runes are very uniform, so that's why I was confused by that.
Yeah, it's like the plural, singular, I, we, you, them.
Okay,
they,
that makes more sense. And I always struggle with linguistics, so this is why I asked this question.
Sure. Until the 15th century, there were 4 cases in the Norse Scandinavian language that the runestone is written in. And that was later abandoned for 2 cases, which is simpler.
Nice idea.
It's a good idea, yeah.
I think so.
Please don't ask me a lot of detail, because I am not a linguistics person. I didn't want to delve too deep into this, because it would be an hour and a half on here's
Yeah.
why these cases are this way.
Yeah, and besides which, this is not such an earth-shattering mystery.
I agree.
that
I absolutely agree.
You can afford to spend weeks and weeks and weeks learning about this stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, apparently the stone uses just the 2 cases instead of the more common 4 cases, which would have been common at the time. Again, not really, as Joe was saying, a problem for me as much. You're carving in stone. You got like 10 dead people next to you.
It's not that long. It's not that long of a text.
It's not that long of a text. So while people who are way better versed in linguistics than me may shout, yes, that is totally earth-shattering and it's strong proof against this being real, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
It's what was it? 10 lines, 8 lines long is what this is. That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite
not-
short.
It's
There's not a lot of room for messing around.
It's more
with
of a
cases.
post-it note than anything.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, so you're not going to get all fancy with it. And by the way, I don't think they had the corpses right next to them. I think they were like a day's ride away or something like that.
Shh, shh, shh.
Okay, sorry. Well, forget about
Just
that.
painting a beautiful picture.
Oh, okay.
Just waxing poetic.
Yeah, a bunch of corpses.
Yeah. Apparently, I don't read runes, so I cannot confirm or deny this, but apparently, according to some sources, the inscription uses the English spelling of dead, not D-E-A-D, but D-E-D, with runes phonetically, instead of what the Norse word would have been. Again, I can neither confirm nor deny, but this is something that
All right.
people say.
Yeah, no, I also have to ride through the middle of that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe dead means something else in Scandinavian.
One would presume that the people who are translating it would know that, though, instead of saying, no, it's spelled the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
You would hope.
You would
You
hope.
would think.
Yeah. And finally, as we mentioned before, the stone itself was weathered, but the inscription wasn't weathered. So the stone was obviously a very old stone, but the inscription itself looked much newer.
Mm-hmm.
The edges weren't as degraded as you would expect to see, given the age and wear that you would expect to see on fine lines like that. Steve's looking confused.
Yeah, and they're not cut very deeply into the stone, really.
So you would see a lot of wear if it was exposed to the elements.
Oh, like on the edges of what's the runes that have been carved
Yeah.
And they'd be rounded off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They wouldn't
in. If
be
it was above ground the whole time, yeah, I could see that.
That's exactly my point too, right? It was buried. So I don't think it was meant to be buried. I don't think it was originally buried. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that it was put upright like a headstone almost.
Yeah, like a monument.
Yeah, so it was part of it was buried, and then the rest of it got buried over time. You would expect to see probably more wear than necessarily you see currently on it. But again, it comes back to, they cleaned it off with a nail. Like, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
So if this is a hoax, the next big question is, who created the hoax?
Well,
Who
suppose you could
created
start
this
with the guy
stone?
that
Well,
brought
he
it
is
to
the
light.
number one suspect, right?
Yeah, he
Ullman,
would
of
be.
course, is the number one suspect. And I don't think it was him.
What would he get? This is one of those things. I ask this every time we talk about a hoax. What are you going to get out of the hoax? Like,
He actually made $10.
Well, no, ignoring the financial gain, I mean, is he trying to get some notoriety out of it? Like, I never understand what people hope to gain from pulling the wool over people's eyes.
Well, that for me is, I think, the biggest reason that I don't think it's Ullman, right? I mean, he found it, eventually brought it to people's attention. They said, it's a hoax, here, have it back. And he said, okay, I'm just going to use it as a stepping stone then.
Yeah, exactly.
He was never a vocal advocate for its authenticity. He was always, throughout the entire time, just kind of standing back saying, I found this thing. What is it? And people said, here, it's this thing. And he goes, oh, okay.
You would think that if somebody had the wherewithal to make a hoax like that, they would be brazen enough to keep pushing that it was real. I mean, we see this all the time. How many books have come out in the past decade that are supposed to be pure fact, and they turn out to be pure fiction, but the person who wrote it just continually, goes on TV and does everything they can to defend that it's real.
Oh, yeah.
Those people, they've got big brass ones. They are holding it up, and this guy didn't do that at all.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that if you're gonna pull off a hoax that involves carving things in stone too, what you want to do is you want to carve the 11th through 15th commandments into a stone tablet. And say, I found the lost 5 commandments. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I know that's what you would do.
Yeah. There'd be some cool commandments in there too.
No, I think it's definitely not Omen. I think he definitely isn't the one.
So who else could it
created
be?
it. Right, and I think, the other big question is exactly that. And the only other option is that somebody spent some time, created this hoax, dropped it off on some abandoned land for a while because it was buried near a tree, right? And the tree was like 40 years old, and hoped someone would find it and recognize what it was and bring it to people's attention.
So who was the historian who was so fascinated by the prospect of Norsemen coming to Minnesota?
Holland.
Was it Mr. Holland?
Yeah.
So are you suspecting him?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't, because I don't think that he would have left it up to chance as much as that, right? That's a big risk to take.
And he wasn't that old of a man. I mean, if it's in the roots of a 40-year-old tree, it's had to have been there at least 40 years.
Yeah.
I got the...
Well, we'll talk about that.
Well, ballparkish.
We'll talk about that.
But my point is, I got the impression that he was a 40-something to 50-something-year-old man, not an 80-year-old man.
Yes, that's true. He was a younger man.
Which means that he would have had to done it as an adolescent.
Yeah, well, okay, so the tree itself was 40 years old, and again, this is one of those facts I go back and forth on in terms of what I believe. But apparently, and I don't know how, because they uprooted the tree and it was gone.
They didn't count the rings, I assume.
They did count the rings.
Oh, did they?
So they said okay, it's a 40-year-old tree. Most of the trees around here are 40 years old. But apparently somebody came and examined the roots and said, oh, no, the roots were disturbed about 10 years ago where the stone was. I don't know how, okay? I don't know how they would have found that out. But somebody said, no, something was buried here. Something big was buried here like 10 years ago. Disrupting the way that the roots were growing or something like that.
I could see somebody being able to figure that out today with, all of the computer technology that we have. Because I'm understanding this to mean is that some yo-yo went out to the bottom of that tree, dug a big ditch or trench, pushed the roots out of the way, threw the stone in, and then covered it back up.
To make it look like it had been there for longer than it had.
Okay, yeah. That's what I thought. Man, roots, it's like a tree branch. It takes a long time before it becomes very, very obvious that somebody has tied it up and it's been, altered in its growth pattern.
Yeah.
No, okay.
No, I agree with you.
I don't know.
I totally agree with you.
I'm also not so sure that the roots would have survived that long, because usually when you clear land, you saw out the wood, and take it home or throw it in the wood pile or whatever, and then all the stumps you throw in a big pile and you burn them.
Yeah. Oh, no, I absolutely agree with you. There's no way that somebody could have, unless they examined it on the day, right? Unless this was an affidavit from somebody who, for whatever reason, examined the roots on the day, there's no way that they would be able to know this. Whole 40-year thing, the settlements that were in Minnesota in that area at that time, they were very new. White people were by and large not living there 40 years ago. So, interesting fact for the era. So, for somebody to just create this hoax, drop it, and hope that somebody finds it someday.
Haul a 200-pound stone into what could be considered hostile territory.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
just
plant it in the ground, and
that
then right away.
Pretty unlikely to me, right?
Seems a little bit absurd, yeah.
So that's our segue into it's not a hoax.
Okay.
We touched on the tree, which was kind of one of my first points in the it's not a hoax situation, but it can go wherever. It's fine.
Yeah, we kind of argued on
really
that. We can move away from it.
Yep. And then the knoll, we also talked about that it could have been an island almost. The knoll that the tree with the stone underneath it. This is like that
grassy
song,
knoll.
Right? What's the...
Yeah, I was about to say, this sounds like a very Lord of the Rings description.
I think it's that like bog and the frog on the log in the bog in the middle of the... in the middle of the sea. Yeah. Anyways. It could have been, and likely was, in fact, an island in the middle of a swamp, wetland kind of area, assuming, as one should, that the water table was different in Minnesota 600 years ago, because, duh, the water could have been about 50 feet higher than it currently is, which would have put water surrounding that knoll.
Okay. Does that make it any more likely that a 200-pound chunk of sandstone is going to be sitting there, though?
I think there are two possibilities that it affords. One is that the rock was moved by water to this place, right, with rising and lowering tides.
So you think the rock was just bobbing in the water and just sort of washed up on shore?
Yeah, I mean, 200-pound rocks do float. That's just science.
Exactly.
All the time.
It's just science.
They're a known nautical hazard.
No, yeah, they are. They totally are. It's that and icebergs.
Yeah.
Same thing, right?
In the Caribbean.
No, I mean, water it moves things.
It's a
around.
hydraulic force.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But also that it could explain that they could have been camping there. That would have been a place that some people would have been camping. They would have ended up there, and that's why that stone was there. Because they could have gotten there with a boat.
You also got to think about it from an explorer's point of view. I'm in this body of water. It's an area I don't know. There are people who I don't understand who potentially are hostile. It's safer to make camp on an island.
On the high ground.
On the high ground rather than on the surrounding mainland because it's harder to sneak up on you.
Yeah.
Almost impossible, in fact, to sneak up on somebody.
Because you make a lot of noise wading through that all that muck.
Yeah, and also you can see people wading through them. I mean, it's
or
not...
on a little canoe or a boat or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I think, a pretty good, solid fact for why it would be there.
Except where did it just sort of happen to be there, and they did some carving on it there? Is that the idea?
Yeah,
Okay.
Use the materials that are available.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
The prayer to Mary, the Ave Maria, that's on the stone, people cite this as something that is pretty important, little bit of history regarding its authenticity. It's a Catholic prayer. But the Swedes of Minnesota were all Lutheran, pretty much. Not 100%, but for the most part, at the time.
That was the prevalent religion.
At the turn of the century.
But way back in the day?
The turn of the 19th century? Okay. Just making sure I knew which century we were talking about here. So this is the turn of the century when the stone was
when
found.
It would have, if it were a hoax,
century, yeah.
If it were a hoax, when this thing would have been made.
Is it the turn of the 19th century? Is that the year 1900 or is that the year 1800?
I never can understand it. I don't even understand why the hell the 19th century is in the 1800s because it's the 18s.
I know.
So don't ask me.
It totally makes sense. I mean,
I get it, but it's dumb.
It's confusing. I know. But, I know.
The further we get away from the first century, the stupider it gets. Yeah. No, but an interesting fact is that Swedes of the 14th century, the 1300s, were Catholic. So it would make sense that the prayer that they would have had would have been Ave Maria, not the Lutheran
version of what that might be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I think is an important fact. I also don't know how much you know that as a Swede in the 1900s. That's fairly sophisticated fake, if it's a fake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very
that's
true.
true.
To know, it happens that these people were a totally different religion than me, so I'm going to add their prayer into my hoax of this thing. That's fairly sophisticated. It's not strong, 100%
not rocket
evidence
science, but
either way. Yeah, but anyways, I think that's a fair thing to mention.
What else have we got here on your bullet point list of it's not a hoax?
I love my bullet point list.
I love to make fun of them.
I know you do. Next is that there are some scholars who attest to its authenticity. Not the linguists as much, but historians. There are some.
Well, I've actually seen some really interesting stuff. So this stone has got, is it mica that's in the stone, I want to say? And they talk about the weathering of it.
Mm-hmm.
When when you take a microscope to it and you can see how it's weathered. And they've actually figured out how much the difference of the weathering between the grooves that were cut in the stone versus what is on the face. And it's pretty consistent with the 1360-some year date that's on it, which is really compelling.
I agree.
They say that, again, they're saying that the weathering of the runes is consistent with us being 600 years old.
There's a difference between them. So the face that is exposed has completely weathered away.
Oh, okay.
The mica on it is completely weathered out.
Yeah, and then
but the stuff that's in the grooves
on the side
shows about 600 years worth of weathering. Now, I can't explain how that works, but That's what I read, and it was like, oh, well, that's really scientific. I'm inclined to believe that.
It sounds sciencey. It's probably true.
Bill Nye would have said that.
He would have.
I don't know.
Another point that people bring up is the dotted R.
I hate the dotted R.
I like the dotted R. Do you know about the dotted R?
Yeah, but I think they just mistook their R for an I.
No. So the way that the R rune is done, it looks like an R pretty much, like if you were just going to carve an R.
In straight lines.
Yeah, in straight lines, so it's R.
You've got a vertical line. You've got from left to right at an approximate 45-degree angle, and then from right to left at a mirror of that angle back into that vertical line, and then you do the same thing to make the tail of the R.
Yeah.
That's
Easy.
exactly what an R is.
That's what an R is.
Yeah, except for that dot.
Well, there's a dot in the middle, in the absence area.
The negative space.
The negative space, thank you. You know art stuff. In the negative space on the top bit of the R.
This is why I always describe letters.
Yeah. So there's a dot there, and apparently this is a thing that only happened really in medieval times. So the 1400s.
But it could have just been a defect in the rock face.
It's you can see it in all of the R's that are used in the inscription. It's not just one little dot in the middle of it.
Because I've only seen
a couple.
I've only seen one R called out. And because there's a huge fight over that R, a stupidly huge fight, and all of the images that I see are of a single R.
When I look at the inscription, I think I see them around. I mean, I think I see it in all of them, but I could just be. That could be wishful thinking.
Okay, because
I agree with you now that you say, it's always the same R. I realize, that the one that they do the close-up of is always the same R, but I'm pretty sure when I look at it, it looks like there's the dotted R in all of it.
Because, I was going to say, it's the single one because there's always the, what do they call it? The dropped tool theory. Somebody dropped a tool, and it just happened to strike there and just happened to mar the stone. So that's why I'm surprised to hear that or you saw it in other places.
I thought I did, but
I didn't. You know what? I didn't really try to scan it really well. I was just kind of briefly looking at it as I was reading the words that I could understand in English. So
sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't really seen enough good close-up photos of the runes to really, examine them closely. It's a problem.
That's the other thing that's hard with it is it's not as though they're taking close-ups of, every single little bit. It's just the, call out the one rune that has this weird thing going on. Or, as we're about to talk about, this one X that's really interesting.
Ugh.
It's actually all of the X's.
Okay.
But this theory is... It's angle theory, sub-theory, whatever. It's the Knights Templar angle or the hooked X theory.
Yeah. I love it when the Knights get involved.
Yeah, me too. This theory posits that the Knights Templar were running from something, I think religious persecution about that time. For whatever reason, for some reason in the middle of the U.S., way earlier than any other European descendants would have been. There's some stories that suggest that the Knights Templar, there were a substantial amount of them that were rounded up in the early 1300s and killed, and then the rest of them all disappeared. Again, this is one of those I don't even know.
That's why the Knights Templar are so popular is because there was a mass execution and a mass disappearance.
So this mass
they kind of went
disappearance,
underground.
They did, and there are a lot of theories that suggest that they came to America or the New Land, and it ties into this other unsolved mystery in the United States called the Newport Tower, which is in Rhode Island, which most people think is a tower that was built after Columbus got here, but some people say was built way earlier by the Knights Templar. I didn't do too much research into that. It's probably its own episode, maybe someday if we feel like it. But
anyway, the Knights Templar didn't speak Swedish or Norwegian, right?
Some of them did. They wrote in runes, some of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, according to this theory.
Okay.
I don't know any of them personally, so I don't know what they wrote and what they didn't write.
And if you did, you couldn't say.
I couldn't. Wink.
Yeah.
There's this website that I put up on the research that I know Steve loved.
Oh, yeah, if you mean loved equals loathed,
Yeah,
yes.
it was one of those black background, white text websites. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it, but it
I did.
suggests... I don't know why you did that.
I thought it was a real source.
Okay. It's always a mistake. It takes aerial photos that they've enhanced of the area surrounding where the stone was found, and they say they're carvings in the earth. And if you just draw these lines, they point directly to the temple or the tower in Rhode Island, and also all these other places that are totally Knights Templar places. So the stone was actually just like a cipher that the Templar Knights left for people.
Ah, so it's actually a coded message.
It's actually a coded message.
It is an insanely detailed encoded message. Like, there are numbers and coordinates and degrees and all of this stuff buried in it. And I was reading through the descriptions, and I actually started laughing out loud when at one point it said something, 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 which is referenced in the runestone. And I went back to their translation and couldn't find that in their translation. Like, it's a lot of leaps of faith.
Yes.
Maybe it's a parody.
No.
No,
They take
that's a
themselves
lot of
seriously.
work for a parody website. Those huge 7 pages.
Anyway, I think that if they arrived in America sometime in the 14th century, this is the Knights Templar, fleeing persecution, they really didn't need to go as far as Minnesota, because remember, nobody in Europe had any idea that America was here.
Well, that's not true, but...
Yeah, but I mean, still, they could have just chilled on the coast for quite a long time.
They could have, but, maybe they were bored.
Yeah, they just had to
maybe
strike
they
us
just
and- yeah.
got curious.
Or maybe they were driven off of the coast by the indigenous peoples.
It's also possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, is that we've got to remember they weren't the only ones there.
Oh, yeah.
And being an alien culture, they're going to be a pariah. They're going to be chased away every time.
Yeah.
Pretty much, no matter where they go.
So the reason that this is also referred to as the hooked X theory is because the X rune has it's a distinct little hook that you apparently only see with Knights Templar writing.
Oh, I didn't make that connection. Okay.
It's a distinct style, allegedly. I can't say for certain if that's true or not. I guess the last little interesting bit about the Knights Templar is the Scottish prince / Templar Knight, Henry Sinclair, apparently tried to explore North America in 1362.
So, meaning what? He got himself a ship and
Yep.
attempted to cross over?
Yep.
And never was heard from again?
Yep.
Got it.
So that's kind of interesting.
That is intriguing.
I don't know why a Scottish prince would write in Norse runes, but okay. Sure.
Yeah, we don't even know if he made it to America.
Maybe that's what his scribe wrote in.
Maybe. So here are my 2 favorite theories.
Oh, these are the ones that are not, it is or is not a hoax.
Well, they are kind of.
Well,
but-
under the main bullets
Yes. Yeah.
that I'm making fun of again.
Yeah. This one it's not a hoax, but it was carved somewhere else.
Huh?
Well,
Yeah.
it's a pretty good theory. It is documented that Newfoundland was found by Norse explorers in the year 1000 or something like that.
Roughly, yeah.
It
that.
wasn't explored. I mean, it wasn't settled or anything, but they kind of thought, oh, look, there's land over there. Cool.
Yeah. I think they found some artifacts, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible. I mean, how it would have made its way all the way to Minnesota, who knows? But it's not impossible to think that interesting journeys had been made back to the New World from Scandinavia over the course of the years, and that they just happened to leave this stone.
Wait, so if I understand what you're saying that it is a stone from their native land that they brought with them somehow as a ballast or something?
No, I'm saying that it would have been carved like on the coast.
In Newfoundland.
In Newfoundland, yeah, and then brought over somehow.
Right, so they brought it from their native land.
The stone? Not necessarily. I don't even know, but sandstone possibly is indigenous to Newfoundland. I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody go check a website.
Yeah,
and
somebody
check Wiki,
Google
but
that.
Because that just seems, I mean, other than a ballast stone, which I don't know if they use, I don't know why they would have packed that stupid thing all that way.
They might have actually had it for a ballast stone. But although typically speaking, ballast in ships back in those days, rocks were used a lot, but you don't usually use enormous ones like that.
That's my point.
Yeah, they take up a lot of space. There's a lot of air gaps, and they're really hard to get down below decks without breaking your back. So
and your ship.
Yeah, exactly.
One guy slips, and that ship's under.
Yeah, but so maybe they just got it somewhere in Newfoundland, and maybe they were actually in places other than Newfoundland, not just maybe they actually hit other parts of North America also.
Well, I know that type of stone is found in New England.
Yeah.
So I know that it is found in more than one place. It's rocks are rocks.
Yeah, sandstone's common.
Yeah, and that kind of, I think they call it a gray stone. Is that right, Devin?
Yeah.
Yeah, gray stone is found in a lot of different places, but I just don't know. Do you know if it's found in Newfoundland?
Yeah.
It is.
I just to clarify, Newfoundland is like northern Canada.
It's like Eastern Canada.
Northeastern Canada.
Right. I'm just trying to figure out for the geology bit.
Oh yeah, it's found all over.
Okay.
Yeah, so it could have been there.
So so I can see it's carved there, and it's like left there, and then certain settlers later on find it, and they just think, if they happen to be Scandinavian, they think, I've got a great idea. Let's ship it to the mainland. And we'll pass it on to other Scandinavians, and we'll essentially move it far inland as we can, and then boom, we'll bring it to light and say, hey, look how far the Norsemen went. It's kind of a matter of ethnic pride.
Yeah, I can also see there being a settlement, in Newfoundland, and then as they kind of migrate through, somebody is like, well, this is important. We're abandoning this area, so let's take it with us. But as you were saying, they found artifacts, and there have been no artifacts found except for this stone in this area. So that's a pretty big issue for me.
Yeah.
Next theory is it's not a hoax, but it's not from 1362 either.
Mm-hmm. I believe this one.
It is a historical fact that 10 Norwegian settlers were killed pretty close to the spot where that stone was found as part of the Sioux Wars. You know about this? The Sioux Wars that happened in 1862?
Mm-hmm.
Vaguely.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. For me, that was kind of, I read that and I was like, oh, that's an aha moment for me that it happened close by. There weren't officially a lot of white people living around in that area, but likely there were some, given that some white people died in that area at that time. The numbers match up pretty well. It could be that. So
it's a typo, essentially, is what this all boils down to?
Either a typo or maybe a little bit of erosion.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that it was left there as the marker.
Yeah, kind of
for their fallen comrades.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Got buried. It would have been there 30, 40 years.
Which would fall in line with the whole tree root thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I guess that's 36 years.
Yep. Yeah. It would explain the weird grammar stuff that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
That it was a mix. Because it would have been, it wasn't a thing that continued to happen, the carving of runestones. Runestones were used as headstones and markers of important events. So it would have been something that somebody would have carved as a tribute, and that they would have probably tried to be hearkening on the traditions of old, but probably not knowing enough to do it accurately.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people were not that well educated. There were lots of people who could read and write,
mm-hmm.
but lots of bad grammar and spelling and stuff.
I mean, I'd say it's similar to people trying to do Old English today,
Yeah.
For me,
I've seen those tattoos.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has, and it's not good Old English, but it kind of looks like Old English, and I don't know. For me, that's it. I'm done. That's my theory.
Okay.
Microphone drop right now.
That's your
mic
favorite
drop.
one?
Yeah.
Don't drop the mic, please.
I won't, don't worry.
We can't replace that.
I know.
Yeah,
but no, I think that's a really solid theory.
I think that really explains it all pretty well. Yeah, I think so too. So,
yeah.
I'm with you.
Look at that wrap up. Steve, not convinced?
I'm still not convinced.
Why not? What's not convincing you?
Because if it's a simple typo of the 3 should have been an 8,
yeah,
that's a big typo.
Oh no, they're not English numbers. They're
not
rune
Arabic
numbers.
numerals.
Yeah, not Arabic numerals. They're rune numbers. So they're actually runes. There's no Arabic numerals on there. And as it turns out, I can show you a picture if you would like.
Yeah.
But 3 and 8, they're like almost exactly alike. It looks kind of
What
like
seriously?
Yeah, it looks kind of like a P, right? But so the 3, the protrusion, I guess.
The flag. It looks like a flag.
Yeah, the flag is half mast.
On an uppercase P.
Yeah, and on the 8, it's full mast.
Yeah, and
So
it's not even half mast.
Dude.
It's like they've moved it. It's like they just moved it down about 10% of the distance. You know, it's like or 15% of the distance. It's not even half mast.
It's very small.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm done.
Microphone drop.
Yeah, that's it.
Boom. So yeah, I think we solved this one.
Yeah.
We agree. We're in total agreement.
Total. Yeah.
Wow. Well.
No, I'm actually just hot and tired.
Yeah, it's
I don't
hot.
know
here.
anymore.
That's true. Yeah. Well, you can find some of our links on our website, thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can leave us a comment there if you would like. Don't feel like I need to tell you where to find this episode because y'all know where to find stuff these days. But
Unless
if
they're new.
Unless you're new, but then you found us somewhere. You can listen to us on the website. If you're listening to us on iTunes, do us a favor and leave us a comment and a rating. That's how people find us. That's why we're in the top 40 for podcasts on iTunes.
In our category.
No, just in iTunes.
Yeah.
Find us on Facebook, group and page. As Joe would say, find us, friend us, like us.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of stuff going on there these days. It's insane.
Yeah, I really regret taking a day and a half off.
Yeah, you should.
I regret having done that. I'm catching up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I regret you doing that too. You can find us on Twitter. We're Thinkin' Sideways. Send us an email if you would like. The email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. You can send us suggestions, comments, just random fangirl, fanboy praise.
Oh, yeah, we like that.
Whatever you want. We also have a subreddit. Just search Thinking Sideways. That'll pop right up. We're also on Patreon now. It's a pretty cool website to help support the show. There's a link on our little sidebar thing, but you can also .com/thinking sideways and we'll pop right up. There's a little video explaining everything. And
how the monetary system works, yeah.
It's perfect.
And it's totally optional, of course.
Totally optional.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't want anybody feeling like they have to do that.
No.
Not at all.
No.
But if you're Donald Trump, well, yeah.
Yeah, Donald actually has to. I'm looking for his IP.
Compulsory for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that all having been said, I think we're going to scoot on out of here, hopefully to someplace cooler.
Let's rock it.
Yeah.
All right. So we will see y'all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Oh my God. Bye, guys.
There is a world as tangible as our own, impossible to see yet unavoidable to sense. A world enveloped by a seemingly unending ocean of forests. Buried deep in that forest, tucked away neatly within a blanket of twilight, lies a quaint little cabin. And in that cabin
is a bunch of guys, just a bunch of bullshitter.
Hi, welcome to Sleepy Cabin, aka Sleepycast. I am your host, Corey Spaz Kid.
You don't know your name?
Your name is?
What is my name?
Jeff.
Yeah,
Johnny.
there you go. Next, Corey.
Psychic Pebbles.
That's me.
Chris.
Thanks.
Oni.
You got it. Welcome to the Q&A Spooktacular.
The second annual Q&A Spooktacular Extravaganza starring all of you idiots that sent in fucking dumb questions.
All these questions were sent in from the hot meme website reddit.com where you guys can send in the questions. Hot fresh news off the press, yeah. So all these are from there, and if you want to ask questions for the next time, go there.
Stop fucking with people.
Me?
Alright, let's...
I'm not fucking... All the questions are from Reddit,
alright, let's...
Don't send traffic to Reddit. Send it to Sleepy Cabin.
Where are they going to ask questions on Sleepy Cabin?
On the website.
Where?
Comments, dummy.
That's not what anybody said before.
Alright.
We've answered zero questions for Sleepy Cabin.
Enough games. Turn off the Google meters. We gotta get back in there. We gotta get back into the real deal.
Yeah. Okay.
First question from Hombre Snoop Dogg. What is some weird shit you did as a kid that makes you want to go die when you remember it? Jeff?
I don't know. What? I have like half a second to recall something.
Jeff, quickly. When you were a kid, like when
makes
you
me want to go. It has to make me wish I was dead thinking about it.
Just you go, oh my god,
something you did.
Or just
I'm not a degenerate. I don't know what to think. I don't say.
Honestly, that's one of those loaded questions where it's kind of like there's really nothing you could do when you were a kid that's really that big.
No, because I guarantee there's stuff that you think back on, you go, oh my god.
I mean, there's stuff I did when I was a kid that I would like smack myself.
But there's nothing that you recall that you did that makes you kind of shudder and go, oh god.
I do.
What did you do?
It's honestly the silliest, most like not big deal ever, but every time I think of it, I just want to kill myself.
What, Chris?
I was in school and I had a little Iron Giant figurine and I was playing with it on my desk, and then I remember specifically saying the words. I was imagining in my head a made-up character that he was talking to, and I said out loud, "I will kill you, Invisible." And 2 fucking girls looked at me and they started laughing at me. It was the most embarrassing moment.
That makes you want to kill yourself?
That makes me want to kill myself.
I give that story a 2 out of 10.
How old were you?
I don't know, maybe 10 or
15. I have a story.
But yeah.
What's that, Jeff?
I had a pencil sharpener, and as a kid, right, I tried sharpening a crayon, and I clogged the pencil sharpener with crayon, and then I blamed my brother and my parents. My dad, I think my dad spanked my brother. And the end.
Did you shit him afterward?
Dad's a dickhead.
What the fuck?
No, my brother deserved it anyway.
Wait, you want to die because of that?
Yes.
That's that big of a detriment.
I don't know. This is a stupid question.
Fine. Okay.
Next question.
Corey,
you know.
I have a question.
I didn't give you mine. I didn't give you mine.
I have a question.
My friend had a dog who was crazy. We used to jump on the trampoline and pretend to be Super Saiyans because we were faggots.
He sounded like them.
And I swear to God, when you're a kid, you have so much energy. And like one time, the dog got super horny, and so we used to battle each other on the fucking trampoline to a point where we'd throw each other off into the dog den, and whoever landed would be fucking fucked by the dog.
You know,
your dog, you saying the word dog reminded me of it.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I fucking, pretend Kaioken my friend off the fucking trampoline. He did like somersaults and shit and rolled into the backyard, and the dog came up and came all over the back of his head. Immediately.
I've never seen sperm come out of a dog before.
You're a liar.
It's true. It's true.
Not true.
I swear to fucking God, we used it as an excuse. It's like we can make it like this beast, so when we go out of bounds, he can attack us.
Yeah,
we had overactive imaginations. It wasn't gonna kill us.
You're like a 9 out of 10 animating and a 1 out of 10 storytelling.
What was yours? Oh, I stuck Skittles in a fucking pencil sharpener, and I want to kill my brother.
At least that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Who said it's a dog flipping the air and coming on himself? It's a lie.
You saying the word dog reminded me of a true story. I was at my cousin's house when I was about 12. I was much older than I should be for you to understand the context of the story. So I was 12 or 13, maybe 13. I'll say 12, so I saved myself some embarrassment.
Okay.
But it was his birthday party.
Almost an adult. Okay, go ahead.
Sure, yeah. Basically, could drive and fuck women and do drugs and go to war, right? Pretty much. But anyways, my cousin had a birthday party. He was turning 11. He was 1 year younger than me, but we had a bunch of soda, probably more soda than I've ever had.
Really?
And then I fell asleep on his couch.
Well, what kind of soda?
Like Dr. Pepper.
The
Coke.
really heavy
soda.
kind.
Yeah. I wake up in a puddle of my own piss on the couch. Now, if you piss the bed, you can change the sheets. If you piss on a couch, what can you do? And I got terrified. I woke up covered in piss, and I flipped the cushion upside down, back the other way. I went back to bed and pissed again on the other side, and I woke up and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I slept on the floor. I slept on the floor, and then they had a huge, like a Rottweiler or something. It sat on the couch, and his stepdad was like, "Who pissed on the?" I was like, the dog did it. And he was like, I've had that dog for like 5 years. My dog got pissed on the couch, you little liar. It was so embarrassing. Every time I think about that, I just shrivel up. I pissed twice on a couch and then flipped it over and pissed again.
Dude, I've pissed at my friend's fucking house.
Yes, but did you piss on a couch before?
Yeah.
What did you
do? You looked at me
what
like I'm.
Am I the only normal? I mean, Chris and I are the only normal ones here, sort of.
Jeff, you pissed the bed when you were an adult.
Jeff, ask me something a normal person would think.
Ask me something a normal person would think.
Yeah, a normal person would say and think.
What? Pretend to be. Okay, wait, Corey. Pretend to be a normal person. Say a few things like what you think a normal person would say.
Okay, off to a good start, man.
Holy shit.
Sounded like
the first thing that came to my head was the weather outside is
pretend.
That's not something anybody would say, Corey. It's something a maniac like you would say. No fucking person would walk up to you and say the weather outside is frightful and fucking run in their direction. If somebody quoted a fucking 50-year-old song to you.
You're insane, Corey. Corey.
Hey, you know, I saw a guy at Wall yesterday who said, Frosty, the snowman. I was like, God, that guy's normal. That's fine. That makes total sense. That's the way people greet each other with fucking Christmas songs in the 70s.
Imagine you're in an office. You're an accountant.
Your paperwork.
And I come up to you, I'm like, Corey, we need these accountant things done by noon. Can you do it?
Corey,
I would nod and say I could.
Corey, what's the interest? What's the interest on the loan?
I would probably look at the number that says interest.
You have to figure it out. Do you have a calculator?
Pull out my phone.
Right.
Beep, 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 beep. That's 42%.
Thank you.
Is it one of those Tamagotchi things that makes sounds like that?
Okay, so that's why we.
That answers the question.
That's why we would kill each other. Okay, someone else.
Sim the Geezer asks, did you ever consider quitting animation at one point? Like settling to be an accountant or some job other than animating?
Oh my God! Well,
I think you're not an animator.
Should we start with? Why don't we start with Chris?
Let's Chris go down the way.
Yeah,
that's a really weird. Yeah, that actually did happen. There was a point where me and my parents. Well, this was before I even pretty much uploaded to even. I don't know, like even Newgrounds or anything. Yeah. This is at a point where I couldn't prove that I could ever make success out of it. And to be fair, you do got to be lucky to make money from like.
It's true. There's a lot that you bank.
Like
it's a lot of luck.
I can definitely see where my mom and dad were coming from when they were like, "You should probably just kind of train for something else just in case." At the time, I was like, no! I want to be fucking animator! And then we had big fights, and it was just like, you know what, that's it. I fucking give up. I never want to do this again. It's too much effort. It's too much fighting with my smelly, beautiful parents that I still love.
Yeah, surely you've already quit, though, after you've already started. There's been at least probably one point where you've wanted to quit, right?
No. If I wasn't doing animation, I'd have to be working in my dad's shop. And I hated working in the shop.
It takes a lot of patience to fucking deal with, like, oh, flash crashed, I lost all of the work. Oh, that's fine. I guess we're gonna have to keep doing this.
At one point, you were gonna go back to your college.
There's been a couple points where I was like, fuck this. I am just so done with this. I'd rather go back because sometimes it's just it's too much effort. I'd rather go to college or something.
I'll tell you this much: I actually went to school for illustration and graphic design, and that was actually like somewhat. If you just replace animation with illustration, I basically went from illustration to animation because I quit illustration because it was so fucking difficult. It got so hard at some point. I eventually quit, and I actually begged to work in an animation studio.
Really?
Yeah. And that actually went from working on like an animated TV show called VH1 Illustrated for a few years, and then I lost that job. I don't know. Now I'm working at Newgrounds doing like video game stuff. So I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, I went from basically oil painting to digital animation. So, Corey,
if you were going to quit completely just because you're so frustrated or thought about saying fuck it?
Well, I guess for me, my mom always encouraged me to do what I enjoy. She's like, if you're in that situation, then you're better off than most people, so you should pursue that. So my mom always encouraged it, but my dad was against it all the way. Yeah.
He wanted you to be a professional weightlifter.
He wanted me. That's actually true.
For real?
That's actually
really?
true. My mom met my dad when he was he was going to professional lifting, weight things where they lift stuff in huge lines.
Right.
Like a concentration camp lines and shit. I'm telling you, it's scary.
With buff Jews instead of
buff Jews.
Sick Jews, yeah.
Cool. It's horrible. But
you said concentration camps. I
was using it.
Let it be known. First podcast where I did not bring up Hitler once, and Corey was the initiator.
Let me tell you something. Cleared. I'm pretty sure the first thing you think of when you think of that is long, drawn-out lines to the bathroom. That's exactly why I said it, because that's what I think
Okay, continue. Sorry.
Okay, well, anyways, my mom met my dad that way, and he took Arnold Schwarzenegger's thing on how to lift weights. When I was 1, they broke up, and so. But he was always like, you get a career, you don't fall back on art, make it a hobby. And then my mom was like, just do what you enjoy. And I'm like, well, I fucking hate working, so I guess I'll do what I enjoy. When you were 1? I was drooling on myself, and she's like, you need to make decisions.
Corey, it's kind of coincidental that they broke up when you were 1? It's pretty much, they broke up because of you.
Did she look at you and you reminded her of her husband?
Big buff father, your husband?
A little version of the person she hates the most in this world.
Huge biceps. It's
you know, that's everybody says, a lot of artists say,
your face looked like a baby when you did that. It was weird.
That's why I did it.
No!
Next question.
A lot of people. I just want to say something really quick. A lot of people say like, "Oh, my parents never accepted it." I never had that problem.
Me neither. My mom totally accepted it. My dad didn't accept it. But
not even my dad. My dad was pretty.
Don't get me wrong. My parents like weren't against me being artsy or whatever. Like they always encouraged me to draw.
They used to fucking beat you, dude.
They did not.
They used to fucking beat
you with your art pencils.
Burn you with solder yards.
Like they were never against art. They just like wanted me to kind of have a backup plan in case it failed, which is totally fair.
You said your dad would put cigarettes out on you. Like he'd walk in and be like, "My little ashtray." He puts cigarette in your face and put.
Well, you're like drawing
baby
your crayons.
ashtray.
He fucking like burns you, and you're like,
yeah, but it wasn't that
"Ow."
bad. It was only on places you can't see.
Yeah.
Would you like to ask the third question?
Oh, absolutely, Zach.
Oh my gosh.
Nub Cake Factory asks, favorite food available at Wawa? I'm from the South and I'm inbred and my father is my uncle.
That's funny.
Which one of you would like to explain what Wawa is?
Wawa is it's like a convenience store / deli that you can go in and there's computer monitors and you push the buttons and you pick out what you want on it.
Sex faces, red as a
You didn't
cherry.
like that second part. I added that in.
Oh, you did. Oh, you did.
Oh.
He said it from the South and I wrote the second part. I just wanted to see if anybody...
I believed it. You got me.
So
you're a trickster.
Sorry. Continue.
Anyway,
I was done.
Wawa's is a popular convenience store on the East Coast, mostly popular in the tri-state area, which is like PA, Delaware, and New Jersey.
You basically
really
you get
nice.
like
it's beautiful.
It's like getting like $5 subs.
It's like Subway plus 7-Eleven. It's all the. It's like oh god.
That's exactly
There's smoothies. They do club sandwiches.
Here's the thing I like about it. It's open 24/7.
Yes. That's what the best part.
Which is, I can always go down there at 3:30 in the morning like a total fucking creep and get anything I want. It's clean inside. There's no like frowning, like I know this is how terrible this is.
Frowning?
There's no frowning. Certain types of people at you, looking at you on the counter. They're always friendly, have a friendly demeanor about them.
Yeah, but then there's like you forget walking into it. It's like its own journey because you have all these like scary homeless people that are trying to bite at your ankles.
The only bad thing about Wawa,
show you pennies.
The only bad thing I've seen is they're not an actual gas station. You can't buy gas at Wawa. But
No,
it's
you
not really-
can.
What's that?
You can at some.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, goddamn, I guess. But favorite food from Wawa? What is your answer? Mine would be the 6-inch turkey sandwich with tomatoes, lettuce,
Not bad.
and Parmesan cheese. A little sprinkle of Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper sometimes.
Parmesan.
Yeah, Parmesan.
I get the roasted turkey sandwich as well with like a little bit of mayo and tomato and peppers, just like the normal stuff. But I don't get like pretty much I try to get everything, but not everything because I know it's a hassle. And then some of this stuff like soggifies their sandwich. And that's another thing that I've noticed from like Wawa journeying. You go to certain Wawas, depending on the people who are making your sandwiches, you get different quality of sandwiches.
Some people are fucking surgeons. Some people are blind like maniacs, throwing shit everywhere.
I like open up, like, I'm like, oh man, I'm so hungry, and I open it up, and it just like falls all over the floor.
You know what I stopped? Oh, sorry,
like people who work at Subway, they you can tell they have a very strict rule about how many slices of cheese, how to put on the sandwich. Wawa is more like, kind of whatever you feel.
It depends on how nice the guy is.
It's a wild card. Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. One time I got a turkey or a chicken sandwich. It was a Caesar salad sandwich. I got it from Wawa. It was probably the most foul thing I've ever had in my life.
There's no such thing as a Caesar salad sandwich.
Only bad thing I ever had from Wawa was
it was just chicken salad sandwich.
Oh, okay.
I had a tuna salad. No, it was chicken salad. It was just chicken. It was like chicken. It was basically tuna salad, but it was chicken.
Yeah.
I never got so repulsed by something in my life. But it's weird because like the rest of it's totally fine. Like the turkey sandwich is great.
Yeah.
So is the little chicken sandwich with the breaded chicken with the cheese. It's delicious.
My favorite, I think, is every Thanksgiving they have a sandwich called the Gobbler, which is basically a Thanksgiving sandwich, a Thanksgiving dinner in a hoagie.
Is that the turkey?
Do you know what you shouldn't get?
It's turkey, stuffing, like gravy, and even cranberry sauce, all in a hoagie sandwich.
Don't ever get the fucking gravy turkey sandwich. Cause guess
I
what?
got the gravy turkey too.
I got the fucking gravy turkey
I was at Camp Thanksgiving.
And I'm like, oh, how bad can this be? I swear to God, it was just mucus pouring out of the fucking thing. I couldn't eat it because it was just like, I felt like I was handling a salamander. It was really creepy.
I eat a lot of those. Anytime I get gravy or something, I eat that with like a fork. And
I had to eat my sandwich with a fork. I had to cut it. I was like, God damn.
But here's the thing. I got it again at the Wawa near the work.
Yeah.
And then competence. They put the gravy inside the sandwich. They weren't doing it. They didn't put it to the fucking gravy machine. They're like, this is an ice cream sundae for this person.
Piss all over it.
I've ordered roast beef sandwiches with lettuce and cheese. I've gotten home and the inside was just lettuce and cheese. You know, it's kind of like a sidetrack. Just we should explain too. I said the word hoagie.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm from the Midwest, so I was new to this too.
Yeah.
Sub is the word. I'm new to the word hoagie also. But
if you go to one of those maps where like you can look up where like local dialect or local words. If you look up hoagie, it's like the smallest little red dot, like in the middle of eastern middle Pennsylvania, around Philadelphia. It's But yeah, anyway.
Well, you don't think what you say though. It's like hoagie. It's like cause that's what they call it. They say get a hoagie at Wawa. It's like oh okay.
Because it was like a sandwich thing, but what I always thought it was like a variation of like. Because it sounded really good. I'm like, is it like a pizza and a sandwich?
No,
because at the time,
it's just a sub. It's just the.
At the time, those are the coolest things.
Wawa has good pizzas. They do these little cute little pizzas, and they taste really nice.
They are pretty good for like $6. You can get those pan pizzas.
You know what? My favorite thing of Wawa is the fucking goddamn mango milkshake.
Oh, the milkshakes?
Yeah, they have really good smoothies.
They have really good smoothies.
Chris always gets his little smoothie, his little cookie.
They do amazing cookies. They do them. No,
they do.
I gotta say,
they do.
Wawa's best chocolate chip cookies.
They have really good cookies.
You know what actually happened?
It sounds like it's paid for now.
In your mouth cookies.
You know what happened to me at Wawa once?
What?
I got a chocolate chip cookie, and when I got home, it tasted like they had accidentally dropped it into a deep fat fire or something. It was just
because it was so so charred.
It was it was covered in like fucking chili grease or something. It was just gross. Made me fucking not happy. I know.
I must have spent over. I swear, I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think I spent over $10,000 at Wawa.
Over
the last several years.
I think over this last year, I've probably eaten or spent money on like fucking 50 subs.
The thing is, you could honestly go to Wawa every day and be totally like
you could.
Fine.
And they actually have like special dietary sandwiches that you can get, like sub diet sandwiches.
You can get those like $500 like sub. Sorry, not 500 calories.
They're looking out for you.
We should probably just move on.
Well, I'm just saying. Well, we live by.
Listen,
I know it's free. They're free advertisement.
Well, we also said that we had some gross ass fucking mucus turkey sandwiches.
You're fucking.
And they're fucking nasty ass chili. Fuck you, Wawa.
Fuck you, Wawa. Your macaroni and cheese.
Fucking
Though it is good.
Macaroni and shit.
Macaroni and cheese isn't as good when it's with fucking stuffing. Who the fuck eats macaroni and stuffing?
Nobody.
You put macaroni and potatoes.
They don't put stuffing.
They do. They have it as an option.
Why did you order it?
Because one day I was really drunk. And I was like...
But maybe there's one disgusting, foul old man out there who's like, I love macaroni and stuffing.
Yeah, but macaroni and potatoes is really good.
You're right.
Next question. God.
Hawaii Boy 25 asks, a film is being made about Sleepy Cabin. Which director would you want to make the film, and who would you want to portray each of you?
Roman Polanski.
Why?
Because he's a pedophile.
Edgar.
Woody Allen.
Why?
Because he's a pedophile.
Bill Cosby.
Talented pedophile.
Actually, I looked into Woody Allen. He's not really that much of a...
Bill Cosby.
You want to be Bill Cosby, or you want him to...
I want the person to play me.
Bill Cosby?
Ryan Singer.
Doc Brown.
I want to be played by Jamie Kennedy.
Doc Brown.
I'll be Ryan Phillippe. How about that?
Jamie Kennedy can do my stupid whiny voice.
Who's that one guy who starred as Freddy Got Fingered's father?
Rip Thorne.
It's Thorne. Why do you say Thorne?
Because he's fucking. It sounds like Thorne.
Rip Thorne will play the likeness of Corey in the Sleepy Cabin movie.
You want him to be you?
You'd be like,
you should just be.
This is fucking autistic.
You should be Seth Rogen.
I hate fucking Halloween.
Yeah. If Seth Rogen played my likeness, I would.
Hey guys, I love Wawa. I hate the fucking stuff.
We could share the same laugh. Although I don't share his appeal of weed. I'll tell him.
No. Corey, you're Rip Thorne.
Who would direct it though? Who'd you guys?
I'm Rip Thorne.
I don't want Jamie Kennedy.
I'm Rip
Thorne.
Thorne.
It's not Thor.
I don't care. Thorne.
Rip Thorne.
Rip Thorne.
Rip Thorne from the Thorne.
Who directed, Jeff?
Fucking Cordy.
Who would direct it?
Paul Verhoeven. I think he'd be a good director, right?
Sure.
Big crazy. He also did. No,
that's not. No, I love
Total Recall. He did. What else did he do?
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, fuck you, Chris.
I love those movies, but you can't have him. He's too good. We deserve someone like.
Who's the director who did like This Is For all his Paul Rudd movies?
Oh, Judd Apatow.
Yeah,
he would do it.
Judd Apatow.
He would do it.
Sleepy Cabin movie.
Judd Apatow.
Who'd play me?
That fucking retard from The Office, Dwight.
No, I'd be the old guy.
Dude, that'd be great. That would be great.
I'd be the fucking Jigsaw, the old guy from Saw.
Why do we have these old geriatric fucks like sitting on the couch?
That'd be terrifying. Rip Torn plays the guy from Saw.
Well, I want to be Clint Eastwood then.
Oh! Yes!
Chris, get Clint Eastwood.
Chris, who are you?
Yeah.
Chris, who are you?
You're
You can
Jamie
be
Kennedy.
whoever you
No,
want.
I don't want to be Jimmy Kennedy. Give me someone, but not Jimmy Kennedy.
You choose.
You could be.
You could be Bill Cosby.
You could be. That's not Bill Cosby. You could be.
Dude, who would suit me? Come on.
Who would suit you?
Like an old Irish.
Fuck off with your old Irish. What actor looks like me and could do my voice?
What about Josh Peck?
Danny DeVito.
Oh,
Danny DeVito.
Really?
Dude, Danny DeVito? Yes.
I would happily take it.
Yes.
Jeff, that's really mean of you.
Dude.
But also,
You're so not Danny DeVito.
Hold on.
Don't even be offended.
I'm
Jesus.
Rip Torn, Danny DeVito, the old guy from Saw, Clint Eastwood.
Speaking of the old guy from Saw, you know, when Aaron visited Ireland, he saw my dad and he was like, "You look like the old guy from Saw."
What? To your dad's face?
Do you think my dad looks like the old guy from Saw?
Literally nothing like it.
I actually did see a resemblance.
The old guy from Saw.
Yeah, the
That's
guy
his colloquial term.
Guy who stands up like a zombie at the end and walks off the camera.
Chris, I'm honestly racking my brain to think who would play you.
How about John Candy?
Jimmy Stewart's corpse. There you go.
Jimmy Stewart's corpse?
Yeah.
I want Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis?
Mm-hmm.
Who's he?
He's the guy who plays
He runs the
Gollum.
circus, Corey.
You can be Gollum. You can be the guy in like the fucking like the
Yeah, Chris, that'd be great if you like motion capture
like
you with
this.
just a creepy CG face.
Just a normal CG dude.
Yeah, it looks exactly like you just CG'd.
You're Gollum with fucking Chris.
Dude, that would be the
O'Neill's
creepiest
face.
movie ever. Who's
You're like
directing it
this. You're perched like this.
Who's directing it again?
You're perched like the fucking
Judd Apatow.
Judd Apatow is directing a movie with Rip Torn, Clint Eastwood, CG Chris
He's
O'Neill.
kickstarting it right now.
I would pay to see that. I'm not lying.
I'd do that.
That would be a fucking
Wait,
disaster.
who's Stamper? Yeah.
No.
Oh, you know who Stamper is? He's the you know the guy who's the villain in Last Action Hero, the old guy. You ever see that movie?
Yeah, I saw Last Action Hero.
The guy with the axe. He's just this creepy.
Well, let's say Larry David plays him. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Larry
Larry
David.
David.
All right.
Oh yeah, Larry David would be perfect.
Stamper? He's an old man.
Yeah, I know. We're all old guys anyways. Who the fuck cares?
It's Clint
Except
Eastwood's
for
like
you.
85.
You're CGI Chris. You're fucking PlayStation graphics CGI Chris.
They didn't even like camera
creepy,
track
like,
me.
You're a creepy second like character.
I'm just
floating on the
layered on
couch.
top of the screen.
You're like, hey guys.
you're not even anti-alias.
You like fucking sit down and your body's like lifting up when you're sitting.
I don't even have
There's a
hair
horrible-
physics. It's painted on my head.
There's a
It's
fucking
just, like,
green screen
defying
shit flying in the
gravity.
background. Something everywhere.
It's like shitty first time Blender effects, and you're
Cool. Okay,
when you turn your head, you're fucking jellyfish
look,
hair.
we're
Like
kickstarting the movie. Make sure to check it out at Kickstarter. Judd
Sleepy
Apatow,
Cabin
Sleepy
original.
Shut up, Joe's directing. He's on side for it.
Okay, so Count or asks, do any of you like anything a lot that no one else seems to dislike, or dislike anything everyone else seems to like?
So do we like something that everyone else hates, or hate something everyone else likes?
Oh yeah, I do.
Is it Freddy got fingered, Corey?
That's right.
I saw the look in your eyes,
Dude,
Corey.
You saw the finger in your eye?
I
Let
saw
me tell you something.
Corey, tell the audience about Freddy got fingered.
If you want to talk about a movie that gives you a twinkle in your eye, that's Freddy Got Fingered.
Can I explain why I hate that movie with a fucking real palpable like hatred?
Hold on. First of all, I already said it. Rip Torn.
Yeah.
Or Thorn, as he's known in the Hollywood days.
He was never known as that ever.
He's amazing as a dad. Because he sits there and like counter arguments all of his stuff. Like, yeah, he's like, you're a fucking goddamn idiot! Fucking idiot! And then like, he's just like, I just want to make you proud, Dad. He's like, I hate you!
I like when he just screams, he's like, oh! Funny shit.
I'm telling you, there's just one joke in that fucking movie. The context of it is just he's making fucking cheese sandwiches at some like shitty place in some shitty area, and this guy walks up and he's just like putting cheese in. He's like making a fucking like cheese mummy, and a guy walks up. He's like, "Hey retard, you have cheese on my sandwich." In a fucking cheese store.
The reason can I explain why I hate that movie? Because Chris was like, "You gotta see this movie. It's the funniest movie ever."
It is.
And I was like, "All right, sweet." And by the way,
I didn't say that. You're a liar.
Both you and Corey saw when you were like what, 13, right?
14.
Right. I saw it as a fucking as an adult in his early 20s for the first time.
It's such a good movie for like people who hate themselves.
I don't care, right?
And I paid $2 for it. I paid money for it.
Poor baby.
I paid money for it.
Okay, wait.
It's got 5 what?
It's got 5 legitimately funny parts, and I will agree, it's got lots of try-hard, stupid.
I sat there with a blank face. The only funny part of that movie was looking at you, frantically looking at me every time something funny happened.
No.
Every time you laughed, you looked at me, and I was.
Daddy, would you like some sausage? When he swings the baby around, I know that part's kind of try-hard, but I still thought it was funny.
I hate that. That deer part pisses me off.
That deer part is gay. I will admit that.
I hate that part. The part where he like jerks off penises and drinks cum, that's not funny. It's just like the gags.
See, you describing that's funnier than it actually is.
That part at the end.
It's the main movie with his dad. He's like, I'm so proud of you, son. And then he goes off and blows his money on stupid shit.
Yeah,
and his
that's
dad's
hilarious.
just like, what is wrong with you?
I feel like
I got you a bag of jewels.
Do you feel you like it because you feel like you can relate to Freddy?
That's true. He is.
Freddy is the guy who gets.
He is like an insane, like really talented animator who's
What's
just
the
like
main
out of
guy's
his
name?
fucking mind.
John Green.
Tom Green's the main guy.
Green.
Is that his name of the
So
movie?
yeah,
though?
that's something I enjoy that I know no one will
Is it not
ever.
Freddy?
No, Freddy's the brother
Freddy's
that
his
he
brother.
lies about. He said my brother Freddy got fingered by my dad.
Oh.
Right? Is that what happens?
Yeah, it's like and then he gets sent.
I
to
saw like a
fucking
year ago, and
finger
I blocked all of it out of my mind. I know like 2 parts. Chris, you don't like the Beatles, do you? That's something everyone else likes.
I like the
I mean,
Beatles.
I don't hate them.
You don't hate them,
I
but
just don't like them.
Is there anything, Jeff, that you
Yes.
like or dislike that everyone else likes or dislikes?
Yes.
What's that?
Well, I dislike racists, even though everybody else seems to love
Racists?
Racists.
Racist people?
Racists?
You dislike racists?
Yeah.
And everyone else likes them?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
You know what? Everyone else does go on about racists all day. It kind of
Everybody's walking around being like those Negroes, and I'm like, you're out of line, sir.
So can you please stop? I'm trying to find a sandwich.
It's like, I don't like you.
I think people shouldn't interbreed. Keep the race pure. You're like, can you chill down? Chill out, man?
Mongrel races. I'm like, sir.
That movie.
I don't agree with you.
There's 2 movies that I like that everyone else hates.
What?
Well, I guess one movie. Hear me out. Hot Tub Time Machine.
That movie stinks.
I don't.
Jeff,
That
you
movie
have a movie.
stinks.
You have a movie
I'll tell you
that
why.
you will stand behind, but they don't understand, and I understand.
I don't hate that. I don't love the movie
Your
Hot Tub.
Highness.
Let me defend myself here. Let me defend myself.
All right,
here.
we'll talk about that in a minute.
I don't love the movie Hot Tub Time Machine. I just don't hate it.
Hot Tub Time Machine.
I'll tell you why I like it. It's not offensively.
Here's the
It's
thing.
not offensive.
In all
harmless.
fairness,
I
to
didn't
Zach,
like
it's
Hot
just
Tub Time Machine.
It's harmless.
It's like in the harmless category.
It's a
there.
har-
I swear to
harmless, forgettable
God,
movie.
the director said that John Cusack act like Nicolas Cage, and that pisses me off so bad.
The movie's
you
harmless.
ever
It's not.
been-
There's never a joke where they try too hard. It's all just harmless.
There's loads of like.
Dude, there's a lot
No,
of try-hard
dude,
jokes.
that
What
movie
try hard?
sucks.
What try hard parts? What?
The fucking bald guy who plays in like children's
You don't like Rob
hospital?
Corddry? I think I like
He
Rob
had
Corddry.
so many try-hardy parts. He was try-hardy.
When was the last time you
embodiment.
saw it though? Watch it again. I think you'll think differently.
I watched it when I was like 16 and I hated
I've
it.
watched it,
I don't hate that movie.
dude. The second one.
The second one. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you want
looks-
to talk about it, the main guy is fucking the guy.
I
you
like
said.
Rob Corddry. He was the best part of Warm Bodies.
Dude, he's a good actor. I'll give him that. He's funny, but in that movie, he was over the top, try-hardy.
I like Rob Corddry.
He's like,
movie.
listen,
fine.
I'm
It's
the-
I would not watch the movie Hot Tub Time Machine if I had other movies to watch. But I'm saying I don't hate that movie. It's
See,
not bad. It gets way too much hatred.
This is the thing. Zach is being all reasonable.
Dude, the whole time he was just like, hey, have you screwed a girl yet? You're gay. And
Watch it again.
Zach
it's
is
not as bad.
He's like a baby man-child who's just poking people with sticks the whole time.
Should we talk about Your Highness?
Yes.
I like Your Highness.
Jeff likes Your Highness. Jeff likes a gay movie.
Look, here's the thing.
Jeff goes on and on about Your Highness.
There's a lot of movies I hate, but I like Your Highness.
I do too.
I think it's funny.
You see, and I'm one of those people who watches
And you look at
horrible
it, and it looks like a stupid stoner movie, like a medieval stoner movie.
The title, especially.
I like the plot.
And
the plot was
Zach, you know, we're trying to be fair to Zach, but he's not being fair to us.
Oh, I joke.
Yo,
It's in jest.
The question was what are things, not movies, but I guess all we ever talk about.
I mean, like, I guess things in general. I can't really think of like
that goes to movies, bands, some people do games. Yeah, that goes to everything.
Cows.
Oh, I guess like Sims. I like simulators. Like I like certain simulator games. A lot of people are like, that's lame. But I wouldn't spend up to like $50 for a fucking simulator game.
I think.
But for free, I'll play like Bus Simulator. And be excited.
I don't
for
like
a
Let's
second.
Players there. I know
You
I
don't
bitch
like
about
Let's
them.
Players?
No.
Ouch. That really hurts.
What if the Let's Player went up to you and was like, Jeff, I want you to start my thing, and he kissed you on the nose?
I'm sure not all of them are bad, but a lot of them are.
99%.
What if he?
100%.
What if a Let's Player
99.999.
If you're a Let's Player and you're listening to this,
if you're
I'm not
only
talking about you. I'm talking about everybody else.
Jeff just pointed a fucking 6 caliber at the mic.
He pointed a shotgun right at the microphone, and it was like, come on, bitches. Jeff's a straight-up gangster and pointed the gun sideways.
I'm just thinking about guys playing games like, talk like this. Ha ha, I'm funny. Fuck you.
Jeff,
you know who you are.
Give every reason why they're bad.
They're not funny. They rely on other people's content to make their fucking living. Most of them can't just create something from nothing. They rely on...
No, if the internet the best way to put it is if YouTube shut down, if the internet shut down, these guys would have nothing to do.
Yeah, they'd be working at Walmart.
Yeah.
I mean, at the very least... schizophrenics.
I mean, it would hurt our livelihood, but at least we could draw. We could go to some studio or something for some TV show. We have...
I will say, there are a few Let's Plays I watch. I'm not going to say, I ban Let's Plays from my view, because I watch speedruns and I watch Let's Plays.
Sure, I mean, look...
I like Let's Plays if they're funny or interesting, which most of them are not.
Here's the problem. A lot of them saw a formula that worked and just did that.
So in conclusion...
Don't be a lazy cunt. Challenge yourself and do something besides playing games on YouTube. Thank you.
JJ Awesome 77 writes, what is a movie
is it funny, Jeff?
you guys think deserves a reboot?
I like the movie The Wraith. It's like the Fast and Furious with sci-fi, and I think it should be remade. Thank you.
There aren't a lot of movies that I think actually work well when rebooted. Like, some unnecessary. It's like you never need to reboot, like, Total Recall.
Yeah.
But there's some series that I was like, they've been dead for a long time, so why not reboot them? Like, Planet of the Apes. They tried to reboot that series in 2001 with Mark Wahlberg, and it fucking blew.
Yeah.
And they actually did a better job in the reboot. And actually, the reboot, I think, is on par with the originals, if not better, I'd say. At least on par, at least.
For which movie?
No, they did do some
Planet of the
job.
Apes.
Oh, Planet of the Apes is great.
I love the first Planet, like the 69, 68 version, whichever year came out. I love that movie, but the reboot, I think, is very well done.
Outside of the corporate guy who's unnecessarily evil and greedy.
Yeah, the second one, I think, was better than the first one.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah.
They've learned how to improve. Your answer was...
The Wraith. It's a movie where a kid gets killed and he comes back. It's not even clear. He comes back as like a ghost alien. You're not even sure what he is, but he drives this black Dodge. He was murdered by like a gang of dudes who race cars.
That sounds like Pumpkinhead.
They bully people. They basically find a dude with a nice car and they're like, listen, I'm gonna race you for your pink slip for your car. And then they beat him and they fucking take his car and drive away and leave the dude and his girlfriend out on like some country road without a car. And they do this to everybody in town, but then they kill this kid and he comes back as a ghost alien in a black car. And he races them and he basically, the way he kills him, I'm not explaining this very well. He basically races them. This is what he does. He races them, and then he gets ahead of them, and he turns around and comes back and crashes into them head on and kills them. And then his car flies into a million parts, and it comes back together, and then he drives off.
That's cool.
And then he does it to the next guy.
That's cool.
It is a cool movie.
Did you guys ever see They Live?
Yeah.
I think that movie would be interesting if it was rebooted, just because it's such a bizarre movie. It's so fucking strange.
Yeah, no, that would work. That would work.
Like, even just movies that nobody's ever heard of, they're kind of... I mean, people have heard of that movie, but it's one of those more bizarre. You can't really... You can't say a movie is like They Live. What can you say is like that movie? Exactly. It's just so bizarre and so out there. If they took that to a new audience... A Boy and His Dog is another movie like that where it's like it has nothing else like it. So if they did stuff with the material and they did something interesting with it, I could see myself watching it. But when I see people reboot series that are 30 years old, like rebooting Ghostbusters is fucking stupid. I know for a fact they're going to reboot Back to the Future soon. They're rebooting fucking Terminator, which is a horrible idea.
Yeah.
They're rebooting 30-year-olds, 20-year-old series. It's like film's only been around for 70 years. But you guys can't think of what?
All right. Anyway, so Corey's not going to say anything.
What if they made Freddy Got Fingered too?
They're making Joe Dirt too. So fucking there you go. Maybe you all get lucky.
Is it
Dumb and Dumber 2, Joe Dirt 2? What else?
Is it weird when they reboot things that are less than like 10 years old?
Are we talking
like a movie fails and then they reboot it in less than a decade?
Are we talking like reboot?
Yeah.
Or like
reboot. Reboot is not a sequel. It's a reboot.
Okay,
so it's
like
scratch.
How about like reboots? Like to me, I'm still baffled by the Spider-Man reboot.
They did it like 3 or 4 years after, right?
It's like
it makes money.
But it's the same fucking story.
The only reason they did it was
nothing
to keep...
changed.
No, it makes money.
Stupid.
The only reason they did it was so that if they didn't make those movies, they would have lost the rights to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's the only reason they did it.
Same thing with the Fantastic Four. That's a weird movie.
The first Fantastic Four was awful.
I don't understand the appeal, but this new movie has been really weird. Like you've seen a few behind the scenes shots of it, and It's like the studio is afraid to show it off. They're like ashamed of it or something.
The newest one?
Yeah.
The newest one. Not the Silver Surfer. I never saw the Silver
No,
Surfer.
no.
The one that's coming out.
It actually makes those look good.
Are you fucking serious?
It's
the first
weird.
one was awful.
Yeah.
Like, dreadful.
The new one, you should look up pictures of. They have a picture of Doctor Doom. He looks like a homeless man on green. It's all like green screen. I don't even know what the hell's happening.
Are they rebooting Batman again?
Probably.
With Ben Affleck as Batman, right?
Yeah,
Batman
I'm sure there will be a Ben Affleck Batman
100
movie.
fucking reboots every other year. And then, like, they bring up, like, that's another thing. Like, superhero movies that are just like, what? Like, the Green Lantern?
Because, Hulk is another movie. They made Hulk, and then The Hulk, and then they made... Like, it was the 2000 whatever version, then it was the Edward Norton version, then they brought on the other dude to play Bruce Banner. What's his name?
I forget his name.
The handsome dude from the Avengers who played Bruce Banner. Yeah.
I want to clarify because, like,
you're just a hater, Corey.
People do like the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
But the movies are awful. Like, they're not good. They're not good movies.
With
and they get
Ryan
fucking Ryan Reynolds to play.
I thought he played it all right.
But it's like, what? Why him of all people?
Why?
To play the Green Lantern?
Who else would be
hot.
him?
He's beautiful.
What? Tom Green?
Yes.
They needed like a witty. I don't think he was the problem. I thought he was okay. Like,
Listen,
he was okay as the Green Lantern.
Jeff,
it's just the story itself kind of sucked. The villain kind of sucked.
Tom Green.
I am excited.
As Green Lantern.
You know what I'd like to see
rebooted?
What's that?
No.
None of yous care, but I'd love to see Harry Potter rebooted.
Harry Potter?
Done differently how? Like,
I'd love to see it rebooted as like kind of like a HBO series.
They're doing that now because they're doing.
They're not doing
you
that.
did something where they're like doing the Evil Dead as a TV series.
oh yeah, they're
I
doing
saw
the Evil
that.
Dead now as a
Which
TV
is
series with what's
Bruce
his face?
Campbell and the
Bruce
same
Campbell,
people.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
He's like fucking 50 billion years
And
old.
they're gonna make fun
They
of
could do.
that.
They're probably just gonna make some
They're
old
gonna poke
jokes.
fun at it.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, "Oh, you're an old man."
You know what happened once?
fight
They made a movie
zombies.
called My Name is Bruce where they made fun of Bruce Campbell and he starred in it. It was the worst film I've ever seen.
Did you see the movie he starred in where he was fighting mummies? Or he was
What?
fighting not mummies. Was it King Tut? He was in an old folks home with a black guy that said a black guy said he was like JFK or something.
Yeah, I know that movie.
What the hell was that called? There was a black guy in an old folks home that said he was like, I think it was John F. Kennedy, and then there was another guy who said Bruce Campbell. Was it Bruce Campbell that said he was Elvis, or was that somebody else?
Yeah. It's Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, Bubba Hotep.
That was it.
That had a nice. I like the score too.
What the fuck?
But yeah, they're rebooting the Evil Dead. They already rebooted the Evil Dead with that one chick.
You don't watch. You're right.
Yeah, you tried to catch me at my.
I did. No, I was ready to disagree with you. And like, oh wait, you're right.
So yeah, those are our answers for movies we'd like to see rebooted.
Ryan Shades M asks, "What is your favorite least favorite word?"
/ either or.
My least favorite word is wonderful. I don't like when people
Could
say
you
it.
explain why you hate the word wonderful?
I just don't.
What if it's funny and they have a twang to it, like wonderful?
Like a German guy?
Maybe that makes it less.
It's kind of scary, actually.
It is
That works.
wonderful.
That works all right. But
Today is wonderful.
if you're
cool.
just a man's man and you're like,
oh,
that's wonderful.
What if he's
I
really
just want to
handsome?
spit in your face.
What if he's really handsome?
Wonderful.
What if he's really handsome?
yeah, what if John Kennedy said
Yeah,
it?
what if John Candy?
What if John Candy
John
said
Candy?
Yeah, what if
John
he
Candy
said
said it?
wonderful?
I hate you guys. I hate you guys so much.
Okay, I guess for me,
Yeah.
I don't like the word moist.
Why is that?
Because it's just really awkward to say. It's like it's so moist outside. It's moist.
Do you have moist smegma, Corey?
Smegma. Moist smegma.
Moist.
I actually had to
Oh,
look
you
that
very
up.
moist.
When fucking Niles said smegma, I'm like,
It's just dick cheese.
You
So
thought it was-
obvious.
you thought it was a myth?
I've never even.
Have you ever jerked off
never
and then
heard of
just
it?
went to bed because you were
I don't think
so
I have.
exhausted? Okay, Jeff, if you're laying on your back and then you're like you like cum your name on your chest.
Oh, that's relatable. Everyone does that every night. I thought I was the only one, Corey. Glad to see there's more than one
Man, I'm
person.
so done. I'm so done with this.
You just gave me the old man stink eye.
Old man stink eye.
Old man stink eye.
No, but
Because you're leaning back with your shirt up, you're like, yeah, when you just jerk off on your chest.
You come on your chest and spell your name out. Corey, how would you? Does a cum spell? You have to take your finger and put it in the cum and spell your name out.
Do you smear it? You take the head of your dick and smear it on your chest like a glue stick, or do you actually try to arc it?
Or is there one big pile of cum that you kind of write with your finger, like in the snow?
Like once you come, you can use the penis of your head because I have a huge dick, and then you can
use your huge penis to write your name.
Anyways, the point is, have you ever just came all over yourself and the next morning you're like, oh, look at that, I didn't clean up.
If you came to yourself and waited to peel it off the next morning, it'd be like...
That's smegma, Jeff. When you were like 8 years old, jerking off.
You're disgusting.
Corey, you're the smegmeister.
What was the question even? How the fuck did we get to this?
What is your favorite... What is your favorite or least favorite word?
My favorite word?
Zach.
Oh, gosh.
You lost your chance.
My favorite word is titty.
Titty?
Titty.
What about plural? Titties.
Titties. Or wiener.
Wiener's a great word.
Wiener. Titties or wiener.
Zach, what is your favorite or least favorite word?
I'm trying to think, honestly.
My least favorite word is Corey.
Corey drinking coffee coming out of his chest.
I wholeheartedly agree with you there.
Wholeheartedly. Fuck you, Corey. And fuck you wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I hate wholeheartedly. Fuck you. It's the worst word ever.
Corey, you should run for president and make your campaign. I wholeheartedly disagree with my candidate.
I saw you type wholeheartedly on Twitter. I could have reached through the fucking screen and strangled you.
Wait, did he use that word before?
Yeah, he used it this morning.
What was the context?
Yeah, what was the context? You said I agree wholeheartedly.
I agree. Fuck sweet potatoes. I agree wholeheartedly.
Oh yeah, because I was railing on potatoes.
Wholeheartedly?
Yeah, that was in something.
It was in Charlie Manson's fucking diary, dude. It was scribbled over and over. It was in John Hinckley's diary before he shot JFK. Wholeheartedly. Wait, did I say JFK? I meant Ronald Reagan. Fuck! Now I sound stupid.
I like the word nuclear, but not nuclear.
Nuclear?
I don't know. I don't understand why people say nuclear.
What about nuclear?
We talked about this before. That word's been ruined because I've seen it spelled the wrong way so much. It's like epitome. Whenever I see epitome, I think epitome because I've heard it's mispronounced. I read it that now by default.
I'm thankful that I never molecule.
The word molecule.
What about it?
Just saying it, molecule.
You like that?
Yeah.
Molecule. Yeah, the Q's nice.
Molecule.
The Q.
Molecule.
When we had in science, we had a video where it's like, "This is Molly cool."
Molly cool.
Chris.
Yeah.
What's your favorite word?
My favorite word is dank. No, not dank. Stank.
Stank.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite word?
Actually, weevil's a pretty funny word.
Weevil's a fucking great word.
Whenever Chris Lee calls you the weevil, it's funny. It's like, you fucking disgusting little weevil. It's so insulting.
Oh, no. My favorite word is frothing.
Frothing?
You frothing weevil.
You frothing chimp.
Frothing? That's just like fucking mouthing. Like mouth
I saw a frothing chimp who was peeing on me at the zoo.
What was the word we were talking about last night? It was like purify or something?
Oh, cleanse. You can't really say...
Cleansing?
Oh, no, it's purify. It's like, we were talking, like, you can't really use the word cleanse outside of air and water. You can't really use that word outside. It's like, oh, I have, this water is purified or clean, the air is purified. You can't really purify anything else.
I distastefully asked if Hitler said the word, like if he purified his race or something.
I'm pretty sure he did. He must have used the word purify. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to purify the Jews today, right after 7 o'clock. Okay, Chris, did you want to add a word you love?
A word I love?
Yes.
My favorite word is clit.
Clitoris?
No, clit.
Clitoris.
Clit.
No, clit.
Clint Eastwood.
It ends abruptly.
Clit Eastwood is
Do you like the word clip?
No.
Like a paper clip?
Clit, because the t makes it sound really violent.
Clit!
What about,
you fucking clit!
What about cunt? You cunt?
Cunt is more... I didn't want to say a word that everyone already kind of always uses.
Cunt?
Cunt is definitely making a comeback. A cunt
back. Oh!
Bob Diggy writes, what is one piece of advice that you would give us? That's a good question.
What?
What's one piece of advice that you'd give?
If
you had one little golden sliver of knowledge that you would like to pass on to anybody.
People in general.
Oh, well, I guess my only real advice is if you're struggling with something, that's what you need to fucking study more. Like if it's something you're actually passionate about, like let's say you want to do art, but you're like, I want to do art, but I can't draw hands. It's like, well, start fucking drawing hands.
Yeah, draw them over and over and over. It's true, but
there's never a point where any artist just stops. People always learning something.
They always like Well, especially for me, when I first started like drawing girls, it honestly took probably about 10,000 tries. Like,
it takes
honestly
girl anatomy
before it looked okay.
It's like when you first get into girl anatomy, you're like, oh, guys, they're just boxes. Then you look at girls, and you're just like, what the fuck?
I just remember that
so
feeling.
like curvaceous and
yeah. I just remember the feeling of drawing it like 10 times in a row and still looking like shit and just being like, man, the fuck, like, why am I even trying this? This is bullshit. But if you just keep on doing it, you will get better.
Yeah.
If you give up after trying once and failing, then you shouldn't be doing something to begin with.
If you want to do something and you keep like failing at it, that's gonna happen. That's
Even
life.
if you suck, keep doing it. And by the way, people always say this too about cartoons. They say, "Oh, I can't put on cartoons. I keep perfecting it." Just put something out. You make a 10-second cartoon. Don't start off with a 10-minute cartoon. That's your fucking magnum opus. You're not gonna do that. Put out a 5-second cartoon, then a 10-second cartoon, then 20 seconds, and a minute, and so on and so on.
You'll eventually get faster and learn.
And put shit out because if you put shit out and get critiqued, then you'll figure out what's wrong with your stuff and you'll get better from there.
I've got 2 pieces of advice I would like to give out.
Okay.
The first piece of advice is that you can't start being good. You literally have to rip off shit to begin with. You have to learn good colors, you pretty much look at a picture with nice colors and you fucking eyedropper that and you look at the color.
Well, I mean, you draw inspiration, you don't directly like plagiarize someone's art.
Don't plagiarize.
No, don't and that was the second piece of advice is like while you're doing that, don't release anything while you're doing that. Learn from it while you're doing that, and then once you found your style, then release your shit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will call you out and make you.
You
look
will
like a
get called
dumbass.
out. You will get caught. You'll look like an idiot.
Yeah, like for a while, just kind of like look at people's ideas and steal them, but keep them on your hard drive. But don't release them.
Yeah, steal all their stuff and then like trace it and write.
No, don't
cross
trace
out their
it.
name and write
I'm
your
saying,
name with a
but
crayon.
how I learned colors was I fucking looked at art that I liked and I stole their colors, and now I know how to do it myself because.
Yeah. I mean that's just like color theories and like how you like stuff. Back then, there was like a game called Maple Story. It used a lot of that style colors, and when you look at it.
Then again, though, there is people who will just flat out rip off a color palette.
Oh
Don't do that.
no, but there's like you can see there's like drawing inspiration and getting like color theories and stuff, and then there's just like directly stealing a screenshot from something.
It does when you use somebody else's colors, you see them back to back. You see like the hair next to the skin. You look at it, something clicks in your brain. You go, oh. That looks good with that color. Okay, you start to work from
all
there.
I'm saying is find yourself. Only when you find yourself, then release your shit. Don't release shit that's clearly ripped off.
The one color you're allowed to rip off is skin tones.
Yeah, skin tones. And that's another thing that people think that like ownership is always. It's like, come on, man.
Right.
There is so much different color tones. Like I've seen, like you look at artists, you're like, wow, that's a really cool color. Then you like you're curious, like what you said. You take a picture, you eyedrop it, and you're like, this is like fucking gray red. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. But it looks good somehow.
Yeah, so it's like sometimes you shouldn't be afraid to experiment either. Like I know a lot of people use like default colors and shit. And if you see something, you're like, you know what? I want to make the fucking sunset pink. It's like fucking do it, and then make the color contrast.
The Simpsons are fucking yellow, and the trees that show are purple. It doesn't matter. We do it. Do what the fuck you want.
It looks good, but also I'm not just talking about art either, though. I'm also talking like anything. Like how I learned music was I got MIDI files from fucking the internet, and I put them into my music software, and I looked at how the notes complement each other, and that's how I learned music.
Yeah.
So if you just look at other people's work, you'll learn from it, and then just draw and draw and draw, and draw anything you fucking see, and you'll get good at it.
I buy a lot of art books.
Yeah.
Art
for
books?
inspiration.
Do you?
Yeah.
I got a shit ton of art books.
I get art books, and it's like I kind of get them in a splurge. Like, oh man, I'm vacationing. Like when I was over at like Aaron's and stuff. If I'm like there, and then we go out, I spend like a ton of money on some fucking art books, and they just sit in my room, collect dust, and hide spider webs. Like I don't use them; they're just there for decoration. I feel like I could probably get more out if I used them, but it's definitely something I'd like to look more into. But then again, there's like the internet, so it's just full of images you can just look at and be like, wow, that's fucking cool.
The images I download the most are backgrounds, I think.
Backgrounds, yeah. And that's another
anything character related.
That's another thing too. Like I learned this because I used to rely on getting other people to do like backgrounds and stuff for me, and I've realized after like doing backgrounds that it's like backgrounds are a crucial part of your cartoon. Because it's like, you can have a character in a white background, but it's way more interesting to have like a nice backdrop. And if you know like color theories and stuff, it could bring a cartoon more to life than it already did. Even if you have flat cartoons, flat colors, but a nice contrast background, it's...
I'll say one thing about color. If you're having trouble with color, just color it the closest you can. Take a screenshot. This is what I do. Bring it into Photoshop. Slide it around. Tint the whole thing a certain color. Sometimes it helps if you have a detailed drawing. Sometimes just going into Photoshop and exporting it as like an 8-color GIF, reducing the colors down, sort of like makes the whole thing jive a little bit better together. Like it sort of, I don't know what the best word for it is, but it uncomplicates it.
So it's like bitmap tracing in Flash, where you just like you knock out, you leave like the main.
It replaces a bunch of more similar colors with one color, and it sort of feels like it makes the design a little stronger.
That's
but it's just
good
one idea to.
Because then you could like learn like, oh wow, so like gray blue works really well with like this orangish color.
Yeah, I would just throw in I throw color overlays on top of things, just messing around, experimenting.
Yeah, just experiment. That's basically
it's easier
what it
than going into
to.
Flash and single-handedly just changing every color one at a time.
Yeah, you don't have to have like the fucking bland ass red and yellow crayons you get. Like you need like macaroni yellow and like orange carrot. You can get like fucking orange yellow and like. Orange green and yellow green, and learning complementary colors also is really nice too, because you start to realize that a lot of colors contrast good together during sunsets and like dark nights and shit.
This is a huge color conversation.
Dude, I love
you guys have any life advice?
Life advice.
Just little things.
Challenge yourself. Don't be lazy. Don't make excuses.
Do your laundry on Sundays.
You don't have the time to do things. You have the time.
Advice?
Just life advice. Yeah, one of the things I've learned from living with people in college and just saying stuff is do your laundry once a week. Don't let it fucking pile up. It's such a small thing. Even don't wait for all your laundry to be ready to wash and then wash it. It's a horrible idea.
That's what I do.
You shouldn't.
It's such a bad idea. It's so much easier if you just do your laundry once a week. No matter how much you have, just do it and it's done.
If you're renting an apartment,
it's a good
always
idea.
Keep it clean, because you never know when some dickhead is going to show up and want to inspect your apartment and you're like, oh, sorry, my kitchen is a fucking disaster.
In general, do stuff as you go. Don't wait for it to all pile up. So if you clean your room as you go every day.
It's sorry, I didn't interrupt you, but it's like.
I mean, I don't really know how to do my taxes.
I was going to say taxes. Taxes are like writing checks and stuff.
Dude, that's a necessity of living. If you live and you're a human being and you pay more than $12,000 or whatever the fucking prerequisite for paying taxes is, you better do it.
It blows my mind. They don't have a fucking class in school teaching you this stuff.
I know. I was talking to my fucking parents about that, and I'm like, can you explain to me why we're learning I mean, no offense, but we're learning about shit like fucking social studies, and they're like, you have to know this stuff. And then you get to fucking college and the stuff they're teaching you, like your pre-college classes, it's like, this is how you do college work, yada yada stupid shit, fold your books this way, you're like a Melvin, and it's like, hey, where's the fucking taxes class? How do you do this shit?
Yeah.
I don't want to go to
jail. If they taught you how to do taxes, how to fucking write checks, how to live,
car insurance, life insurance, insurance, all this nonsense.
I had to do fucking Irish and religion. I could have learned how to do taxes. And
where's it's like excuse me, you're gonna need to
no
know
one
this
cares
stuff or
about
you're gonna
fucking
go to
Irish.
jail.
Fucking stupid as dead language. No one cares. I'm speaking English and I'm fucking so happy. If I was speaking Irish, my life would be ruined.
You're going hoity. Like, you gotta know this stuff.
If I was speaking Irish, my life would be legitimately horrible.
You're required to learn fucking hoity-toity.
Yes.
Hoity-toity.
And I can't even remember a word of it because I hated it so much.
Tell me some eyes related.
Anmul Caragum Dolga Dia Lanris Mashe de Hole. It means, can I go to the bathroom, please?
You know how to take a piss in Irish?
Yes.
Jeff, did you guys
spend all night one day fucking learning that one?
I took German.
No, I only know because I used to ask it every day in Irish class.
I took German too for the same reason.
I'm not very good at learning another language.
Do you recall any of it?
No,
I remember like 2 words.
Ich habe schreiben is I have a pencil.
Wait,
I know how to count to 10. Like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 1 to 10. Yeah.
I can speak Spanish.
I took Spanish every year and don't know a fucking word of it. Look, wait, uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's all I fucking know.
Let me tell you
1
something.
through 5.
Do you know what's funny? Growing up in high school, it's like all our fucking like classes were based entirely off of what you do. So it's like, don't go to French class, you just get fucking homework all day. Go to Spanish, you get to make food. It's like, don't go to German. They fucking give you homework all day. So it's
Dude,
like,
I voluntarily took German because I was better than it was. I voluntarily took German because it was better than Spanish. I think German's a cool language. It's much sharper. before. I took 12 years, basically, 12 years of fucking Spanish and know how to count to 5. That's all I retain.
That's the same
If I go to
with me.
Mexico and the cartel capture me, they're speaking to me, I'll be like, oh no, don't stress the fucking behead me. I don't know how to fucking save my own life.
You're like, oh no.
It's like, that's
At least if I get captured by Germans, I can say, "How are you? Can I show up with a pencil?"
This guy's he's like, convince me not to kill you, and you're like, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
He's like, what's he saying? He's like, I don't know. He's counting.
1, 2, 3.
He's counting. He's casting his spell. Let's run away. He's counting his spell.
Yo, what if
Oh no, don't stress. Go,
Maybe they laugh and they think you're funny and just let you go.
Be like, ah! Give me a big cigar, put me in the back.
He's a comedian.
They fucking shove you into the desert, but they're like, you can't tell anybody about it, so they smash your legs so you can't fucking run away again.
I just keep saying it still.
I have a question.
Duh.
What's a life skill you're all proud of?
A life skill?
Yeah.
Jeff? What are life skills you're proud of?
Listen,
Wait,
I can shoot a gun.
Life skills.
I can fish.
You
I
can't
can shoot a bow and arrow.
I can do all this except the bow and arrow. Sans the bow and arrow.
Oh, fuck you.
Oh,
I can
life
shoot a gun.
skills?
I can clip a gun. I can point, click it.
Chris.
I'm just saying. No, I specifically I know how to load. It's not like a big fucking deal. It's just like my dad taught me all these.
It's a cool
weird,
thing to have to do.
He bought me a compound bow when I was a kid. I don't know. It was like a little. He was like teaching me to be Rambo when I was a kid.
Jeff,
really weird. What?
I can pull nails out of boards.
With your teeth?
You mean with the back end of a hammer? That's what it's built in for.
If there's an apocalypse and you guys are fucking hammering up, I'd be like.
When I was like 12, I built my own.
You need to let the zombies into the house.
I'm your man.
You need to undo everybody's hard work. That's your skill.
Like 100% true. My dad was kind of like a workaholic. And if I continue to do that stuff now, I would basically be a handyman. Like, I knew plumbing, I knew landscaping, when I was a kid, I could do measurements in my head, because he would freak out at me if I fucked up a measurement when we were putting carpet down.
And stuff?
When I was like 14, I was putting carpet down in a house. I was going into people's houses and fixing their plumbing. He's like, oh, my kid's, he's a regular tool man, and I'd be down there fucking fixing.
Is that what everybody said? He's a regular tool man?
Corey the Toolman Taylor?
Corey the Toolman Taylor. But now, I know nothing. So if you were to tell me to fix your pipes, I would fucking
smash with a hammer until it leaks everywhere and sprays, and you're like, oh, it's good to go.
You know those commercials of people who are fucking dense as fuck, like infomercial people?
Like what? You can't hold a sandwich and you're dropping a sandwich.
They sit down with a cup of coffee and they fucking pour it all
Spill
over
themselves.
And they're already sitting down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be that fucking stupid, but I would be to a point where if you told me to do something like...
The commercial would be like, having trouble fixing your pipes, and you smashing a pipe with a hammer until it sprays in your face.
That stuff that's another thing that always baffled me. Fucking infomercials. Like that nonsense. Like
it's always in black and white at the beginning.
What kind of dense idiot is sitting there like, yeah, I have a really hard time sitting down straight. It's like, are you having trouble sitting? And the guy sits down and he fucking
his fucking head, his neck snaps over and he starts bleeding out of the eyes.
There's a good video out there where somebody compiled all that stuff.
I've seen it, and
like a 10-minute video.
Some of them are just the kids are sitting there. It's like, do your kids make mess? And his kids he's sitting there drawing on a crayon, and there's soda over here, and he's like
fucking smashes it.
He actually knocks it over.
It's like they're trying to sell things to pour your drink. So some adult is trying to pour milk out of a carton. It's pouring all over the floor. They can't get it into the glass.
Yeah, it's like it just blows my mind that it's like people aren't stupid. If they actually need something, you can kind of show it. Like when people see that, they're not.
People are stupid.
Yeah, but when people see that, they're like, I can pour a glass of milk. Fuck you.
Yeah, but when it's only $19.99, shipping included, it's like, why not?
Yeah, but what kind of guy's like? I guess I wasn't thinking about the disabled.
The worst.
Have you seen Wikipedia's definition of Down syndrome? It's not funny, but the picture there is like a guy with Down syndrome with a big smile on his face. He has a big hammer, and it's such a strange picture to use.
Why would they use that?
I don't know.
Ask why you were there.
Why did they?
Listen, I was trying to figure out what was wrong with me, but the point is,
why would they do that? Why don't they have a? Why don't they have like a school photo of him like sitting there? Like,
it's not like a guy. It's like a guy. It's the worst situation that guy could be in. You know what I mean? Because like their cognitive abilities aren't. I'm gonna tread lightly here. You know what I mean? But it's just a very
tread lightly.
Why? It'd be like if they had him like using a shotgun or like using a riding mower or something. It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
It's not that they can't do labor like that. It's just such a strange thing.
No, it's like the idea of seeing.
You expect to see like him hammering something in. He'd be hitting people in the eye, making them bleed and stuff.
Yeah.
What was the question we were talking about again? It's like,
why are Down syndromes? Why should they be massacred? I think it's a bad question myself.
Why should Down syndromes? Why should they be massacred?
It's a very strange question, honestly.
It's a very.
Who said that?
I don't have Down syndrome.
Corey of the future.
Well, let me ask you this:
Corey of the future?
What do you think of? All right, here's a controversial thing. What do you think of parents who they know their kid's going to have Down syndrome and they decide to have the kid anyway?
You know what?
I think that's how
early?
That's
such a fine line.
How early do they figure out? How many weeks in?
Let's say they could abort him.
But how early in though? How many weeks in?
I don't know. Does it matter?
Yeah, because that's a whole abortion debate where it's like
how developed.
I'm saying they know before.
There's like a gray area to when it's.
Let's say 2 or 3 months in, they know.
Well, it's not.
I think 3 months is pretty far in though for most people, right?
Let's say 2 months, 1 month. Let's say the woman's pregnant.
The fetus can.
And they know Let's say they know like within a day he's going to have Down syndrome.
Jeff,
Do they?
Within day 1, they can wince their eyes. So
within day 2, they can say
Jeff.
Within day 1, they can wince their eyes. What do you mean by that?
Day 2, they can wince their eyes.
What does that mean?
Yeah, like blinky.
The baby or the fetus?
Fetus.
Listen.
Let's say you're having a kid. You're having a kid. You know he's never going to be able to hold a job.
How do you
know that? He's going to have health problems.
How do you
Let's say he's on the low cognitive end of that.
Let's say, and he's going to always need medical bills. He's on very high medical bills, and he still might die early because of all his problems.
Well, I guess it's one of those gray areas because it's like you could be dealing with a family who's like someone actually wanted to be a parent their whole life, and they don't really care for the idea of their kids
but you'll
dying.
literally be a parent your whole life.
But also there's like
but if they're dying, at
there's varying degrees of how bad that can be.
I said let's say the supposed baby is on the low cognitive end.
But like the worst kind.
Is it selfish knowing your child is going to suffer his whole life just so you can basically have like a glorified cat?
I don't think it is, but I think I honestly, if it's going to come out as a vegetable, then
No, not vegetable. It functions, but it's like it can't speak at all.
Like,
it can't speak.
It's a house plant.
Oh, holy fuck! That's too far for me, Corey.
If it's just pure like negativity emitting from it at all times, and you might as well just like.
It's basically like if you knew you were gonna have a kid.
You have someone in a wheelchair who's like sitting there, and you're fucking pouring soil
water on him.
Corey, goddamn.
No, look, it's one of those things where it's like if you jump,
Listen, I'm not insensitive.
You're going to HE double hockey stick.
I'm not insensitive.
You're an ableist.
If you knew you were gonna have a child that had no skin, like it was always screaming.
Yeah,
it was always screaming. I have.
Oh, it would be in the dumpster immediately.
You can abort it. You can take a sharpened pencil.
It would be. Oh, I'd get rid of it.
I think there's a gray area. If your kid's going to have some sort of disability,
that completely impairs it for life. It makes it miserable its entire life.
There's a certain point where it's like there's a disability and then there's like a liability.
That's so deep. Corey, thank
you. It's true. It actually is true. Like if you just had a kid who had a gimp arm and half his brain didn't work, that's fine. But if you had a kid who's a fucking vegetable and he's going to die before he's like 8 years old.
Let me pretend to be your kid.
I'm your other kid.
Hold on, Jeff.
That way, hello, father.
That would touch my heart because he'd be trying to talk to me.
He'd be like, "Son, would you like to go to college one day?"
I'd be like,
I am small like apple to earth.
You know what I would do? What? I would just pour fucking magazines over him, all these dirty magazines. I'm like, start fucking reading.
You know the beginning.
When you start screaming, it's like, don't hit me.
I was watching the beginning of Batman Returns the other day. I just put him in like a boat and sent him into the sewer. I would just help penguins raise him, and I don't have to deal with him anymore.
He's just like,
what if he comes back?
Oh my god!
What if he comes back for you?
He comes back angry.
You left me behind.
Quack, quack, quack.
He's like quacking like a penguin. like pissed off at me.
Penguin, and then you're like, Penguin's still a quack. He's still stupid. Nothing's changed.
You still haven't learned shit. That's fucking dumb, man.
You know how to do your taxes?
No! Can we just clarify that the kind of people we're talking about are people who can't even, like, think?
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
So
I'm
far
just, yeah,
gone.
it's like, yeah, I'm not saying
I'm saying
they don't even know their name. They
Yeah,
don't.
exactly. If they have a disability, that's one thing. But if they're fucking gone, like they're gone.
I mean, these parents.
That's a gray area.
If they're just, like,
I am
ruining
not
the parents'
someone-
lives and their own
I am
lives.
speaking on behalf of someone who cannot be in someone's shoes, who has to deal with someone who is on the
By
brink
the
of
way, there are
dying.
plenty of people with Down syndrome that are completely like high or medium cognitive ability.
Yeah,
that are fine.
want to
That can
sound.
live.
Yeah, I don't want to sound cruel. I'm just saying that these parents have kids where
We're not.
like they're missing the skin, like they can't. They're completely blind. They can't see. They're missing their tongue.
That's sad.
They're
I wouldn't
crippled.
want that. I wouldn't want that.
And they decide to take care of this thing its whole painful life.
Yeah, but like I said, and I think this also is true, is you think of them, and that's good. Like, you're not being selfish, because that's a really good part of being parenting, is not being selfish.
It is a little bit.
They say they're not, but they are, because they so badly want to take care of something almost. They let this thing suffer for years.
But it's like, I completely agree with you. I wouldn't want a kid who's like a walking volcano. I would want to like take care of him.
Volcano?
I would want to take care of him if he had Down syndrome, that's fine. But if he was like,
we're talking so far gone.
If he was like
point.
a fucking bomb ready to go off, I don't want to deal with that, because I'm fucking Times Magazine is gonna be knocking on my door and be like, hey.
And that's not to say people who do end up living. It doesn't mean they don't deserve to live. It's just like if you can prevent somebody from being in pain their whole lives, why? What's the moral reason why you wouldn't do that? I mean, real pain.
I completely
real
agree.
Pain.
I just say there's a gray area, and I say I've said my point. But there was also like that chick who her daughter had like a disability and she died, and she like mummy encased her.
What?
She was in like this thing. She was dead, and then she was basically profiting off her death. And this girl had like some disability that was like rare, and she was charging people money to see her and give her wishes, and that's fucked up.
Wait, like the dead daughter would grant somebody a wish? You mean?
This is going to Irish story territory here.
Have you
How's
ever,
that Irish
Corey?
stuff? I didn't step on it.
Corey, have you ever seen that like lady? Have you ever seen that girl who had like a little girl and the baby like died like pretty much straight away, but she had it mummified and she carried it around with her like a doll?
You see, that's
She
the
put
kind
in
of
a Snow White dress too.
That's the kind of people.
No, okay, I'm
That
laughing.
is absolutely true.
No,
That's the kind of people.
Like, that's horrible to laugh at, but
That's the kind of people who
seeing
you
it
said
in a
that to
Snow
and they'd
White
be like,
dress is
you're a horrible person.
fucking just.
They found a Snow White doll dress and put the dead mummified fetus in a Snow
I'm
White
sorry,
doll dress.
but it looks funny.
That's messed up.
So let's just say if you knew a kid was just going to have mild autism,
Me?
or no, let's say if he was just going to be a typical Down syndrome, like that guy Corey from Life Goes On. You remember that show? Never mind.
His name was Corey.
His name was Corey.
Corey, you look sad.
No,
I said that not even realizing it was your name. Like Corey.
you know, Corey from fucking Death. Life Goes On.
You looked at me with this disappointed look. You're like, what? What do you mean? Like, yeah, it's like I'm hurting your feelings. I didn't mean it like that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, there was a guy named Corey on a show called Life Goes On.
Was it played by?
I think it was Corey.
Who's the guy? Was it played by Johnny DiCaprio or whatever his name is?
No. The character.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
No. That was the Tegan Gilbert Grape. He was retarded in that movie. No, this is a legitimate Down syndrome person.
I don't want that. If there was a point where I would like to think that me and my wife were on the same sort of idea with having a kid with Down syndrome.
What if the all right, theoretically, what if the doctor came to you and he looked at the ultrascan, he said, "Listen, sir, I don't want to give you bad news, but this child that is coming, the doctor's not going to tell you he has Down syndrome, but he's basically going to say, listen, this kid, basically his whole life he's going to be on the computer typing out hot memes all day." He's gonna be sharing the hottest memes all day, and that's all he's ever gonna do his whole life.
So just for like clarification, this is the future where they've already like completely mapped out your future life, and he's going to be a meme spewer on 4chan.
Like, let's say there's a meme gene, and you can tell, and he says your son has this gene, and you guys both have
stage 6 level meme autism.
Yes.
See this section of the brain right here. He's going to be looking at advice animals all day.
All this section is going to be to awkward penguin and troll face and Battle Brian.
I would be like, when he's not looking.
Do you kill your son?
Would you ask him to snap it in the womb, like twist his head while he's in the womb?
The doctor
like a doorknob?
I would say, have you played Hitman? I would say, be inconspicuous, okay? I'm paying you good money.
Me?
You're just going to whisper him, like, listen, just while you're,
just a little.
Yeah, and then just don't tell her. Just tell. And when he comes out dead, just act surprised.
What if you said that and the doctor looked at?
Just make a big O face when the dead baby comes out.
The fucking dead baby rolls out. Oh no!
What is that? I didn't have anything to do with that. That's weird. I can't believe it's dead.
What happened?
Oh my god, his head came off. That never happens.
The woman's like, what was that crack? I just stepped on a peanut. I don't know.
I was cracking my knuckles in there. I know it's bad for arthritis, but whatever. Sometimes my fingers get exhausted.
And then I'm like,
what happened was you creeped up the baby's ass and I popped his head up like a doll. That's what happened, lady. It's your fault. You killed the child.
Snapped his neck.
It warms my heart. We're back to the dead baby.
Jeff, what would you do, Jeff, if you were Jeff?
This guy,
if you were with your beautiful wife.
This guy, this kid is a meme spewing idiot from the future. He's the worst kind of kid.
Yeah,
Jeff, if you were with your beautiful wife.
Yes.
And the doctor, you're at the emergency room.
Yeah.
And your wife, she tweets and she giggles. You're like, that's gross. But then you see a little baby head come out. And the doctor pulls her aside and says, Jeff, your wife just queefed up the baby's ass. And it killed it popped the baby's head off. Your wife just killed your baby. And your wife doesn't know, she's still giggling there, laughing. What do you do? Are you angry at your wife?
I'd probably be making a terrible joke than having a dead baby. I'd shrug.
Your son's little head.
I'd shrug at the dead kid.
Jeff, your son's head rolls to the floor, looks up and says, "Dada, dada." What do you do?
How the fuck is his head still?
I would...
Because baby's head lives for 2 more years after it dies.
All right, Chris.
I would kind of slide him into a dark corner with my foot, hoping nobody noticed him before he died.
Let's say your kid comes out and he's the polar opposite of everything you enjoy. He hates everything you enjoy. You're like, man, I love Final Fantasy VII. He's like, that was the worst RPG ever made, old man.
I grab him by his turkey neck and hold him against the wall and
Why is he a turkey neck?
His turkey neck is screamed at his throat. He's a faggot.
Chris, what if your son came out?
There you go. If you're bored and you're a little shit, you're getting it. You're getting a wallop when you pop out of the pussy.
Daddy wallop.
What if your little kid's like, I want to play physics games on YouTube all day?
What if he's like...
Would you beat him to death?
What if he walked in and he said, my hero is PewDiePie? What would you do, Corey?
I'd be like, good choice.
I'd be like, join the bro army.
I'd be like, you are one little faggot.
Can we talk about a sound that I heard? Oh, go on.
No, I would wait till he was old enough to go to school. I'd intentionally buy a house on the other side of the street that the school bus has to pull up on, hoping he has to cross a lane every day and hopefully just get hit by a car.
Increase the chances.
Oh my god! All because he likes.
Yes.
That's very intricate.
I have no tolerance.
You're paying
his epic braids will be over the road.
I'm not capable of unconditional love. I have to.
Jeff, what if he looks exactly like you? Would you not feel a little bit of empathy for him?
I feel like we've created a situation where we can ultimately hate our kids.
I'd find it more interesting if I'm like looking at a dead body and I'm like, it looks just like me. That'd be pretty interesting, actually. Jeez. I've always wondered about that when a twin dies and he's looking at the other twin. He's like, that's pretty interesting.
That looks like me, but I'm fucking dead.
Yeah, he looks just like, I'm dead.
Looks like a dead version of me. Goddamn.
Yeah.
What the boy you know?
Yeah. So what was the question?
Yeah, what was the question?
Was it advice?
That is the question.
Was
what do
it
you guys
advice
like to
we
do
should
the
give people? Was it advice we should give people?
What was the actual? Oh yeah,
Holy
god
shit.
damn, we got off track. We started talking about boarding.
Slightly off track there. Holy
we
shit.
were past that, I think.
Yeah, what was it?
Chris jumped to like page 2.
Chris, you did it. You
I forget.
Chris, was that your question?
I'm a sleepy sausage.
So, anyways, basically, our point is the best advice is when you see twins killing the one die, the other one looks at them. The end.
Yeah. This is from Nikki Bain. Says, latest show you've seen that you'd consider worth a watch.
Chris is front of the store over here.
Holy shit.
Basically, latest show that you see that you'd recommend.
Yeah.
Freaks and Geeks, right, Chris? You like that show?
Oh, I like Freaks and Geeks.
Really?
I did. I like.
Is that the one with Seth Rogen?
Yeah.
Is it like where he first started out?
Yeah, and it's him, Jason Segel, a fucking James Franco.
Segel?
Jason Segel.
Segel.
A bunch of other guys, but yeah, I like that show a lot. It's cool.
What about you? Have you seen a show lately that you'd recommend to people?
A show?
Yeah, one of those.
One of those things?
Yeah, one of those things.
One of those dang old shows?
That's right, my friend.
The Irate Gamer.
Yeah, the Irate Gamer show.
Ronnie the Skeleton's Christmas special.
Right? Okay. If you guys want top of the line Skylanders reviews on the newest Trapbot series, irategamer.com.
His website's amazing.
What the hell?
Actually, I haven't really watched any TV show in a while. I just watch like stupid shit now and then. I watch a lot of long plays.
What are some of the newer TV shows out?
True Detective, everyone's talking about.
True Detective was alright. I felt the ending was.
What's that new movie everyone's
letdown.
talking about? That's from the guy from Breaking Bad.
Bryan Cranston?
Aaron Paul.
No, the movie.
Oh, but what movie?
Need for Speed.
There's the TV, the show that's coming out, or if it is out, I don't know.
You're not talking about
What is
Better
it
Call
about?
Saul, are you?
Oh yeah, that was it.
That's not a movie though.
Well, the show, because he said show.
Yeah, he did say show.
You said movie though.
He said show.
You didn't.
Well, and then, so you should understand what I said.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm gonna watch Better Call Saul. When they first announced it, everybody, like the people said it was gonna be a lighter show.
I'll tell you what. I just want The Walking Dead to go away and be replaced by something
I've been
interesting.
watching The Walking Dead from pretty much the start, and it's one of those shows that I don't like. I would never recommend it to anybody, but I still watch it. It's just fascinating. Like it's not. There have been some really bad episodes where I've laughed at like the serious parts, but then there have been some okay parts. I'm like that was done kind of well. It's bizarre. It's so
I guess my
weird.
biggest issue with Walking Dead is I read the comic first, so I'm not trying to pull a hipster card, but I read the comic and I thoroughly enjoyed the comic over the actual TV show. And when I saw the first episode, it was pretty much incredibly faithful to the comic, so I had really high hopes. The first season was somewhat lenient in the comic, but then it pretty much just like it kind of follows the main motifs, like the stuff where they like go to the jail and set up shop for like a while and shit, and like just like over time you like learn the people in jail and how they react, and it's like they did that, but the characters in the comic were way fucking better, and the comic was way darker, and it was good because like before they went to jail there was a lot of shit that built up from that, and there was a lot of like bridges that were burnt, and it was just the comic is really fucking good. And I watched the show, and I'm like, man, this is Dullsbury. It's fucking, I don't even care.
It was horrible.
And regardless of even what people think of it being good or bad, I just find it depressing as shit.
Yeah.
I don't like watching depressing. I mean, it's my weakness. I don't look
Breaking
forward
Bad
to
was
watching
kind of depressing
depressing
in a way, but it wasn't the same. It had a place to go though. The thing with The Walking Dead is like, oh, these people were just in the apocalypse.
Breaking Bad has a lot of humor, dark, fun dialogue. Walking Dead is just people breaking down and crying. It's like I feel like 9/10 of the audience tunes in just so they can see dead people get stabbed in the head with screwdrivers. But
yeah,
it's just I'm just sitting like, oh my god.
I'll tell you what I think. What I think makes a lot of zombie movies work. It's like at the end they always have some sort of vaguely hopeful message. It's like, oh, at least we can rebuild, at least we can survive. But the TV series, they can't really make the world go better, so it's constantly just like, oh, this person got sabotaged and killed.
I really liked the remake of Dawn of the Dead because of all the characters. Like the first character that you meet at the beginning, he's like an asshole, but then he like turns around and he's like one of the most likable guys. And it's like, it's really interesting how like the characters come together in an apocalypse and how they change.
That guy was an asshole the whole movie.
Yeah, but he was likable, and then like he
was he?
Like, I thought there was like a point where. I liked him.
Less.
I liked him. He was funny, and then he like.
Even at the end of the movie, they're like, "Are you gonna help?" He's like, "Fuck you."
No, not that asshole. Not the rich one.
Oh, which one?
The one that pulled the gun on them and like tricked them, and then they tricked him.
Oh, the security guard.
Yeah,
guy.
the security guard.
He was. I
liked him.
Right.
The fucking rich guy was a faggot. He's like, I'm rich, so I have nothing to worry. How about you make me a water? I hated that motherfucker. God damn it! I like that.
All right.
Like everyone else is good, and
I know there's people wincing listening right now. Not to. I'm with you, but I know there's people like, oh well, that wasn't as good as the original Dawn of the Dead.
The fucking original Dawn of the Dead. You know what? That part where they like in the beginning where they like the guy bites into her and it's cute, but then like biting into styrofoam with red dye, and he's like, ah.
You know the thing about the Walking Dead TV series is it It started off with some really good effects in the first season.
Oh, The Walking Dead has an amazing
TV series.
Dude, I will give them credit where credit is due. The Walking Dead zombies look like scary.
But I gotta say, so season 1 had pretty good effects. Then season 2, to my knowledge, from what I've heard from like Frank Darabont, whatever his name is, apparently they doubled the episode amount from season 1 and cut the budget in half from season 1. So and season 3 and 4 didn't have really good effects, but season 5 has better effects closer to season 1. But they've had some really good effects. They've had some really interesting traditional like makeup stuff done that looks really good, frankly. But then they have all this fucking CG blood that looks really fake sometimes.
That's something that I don't. And like another thing that I guess that came from The Walking Dead was the Telltale series. Like I know people say it's like it's really good like visual novel.
Chris was playing a couple days ago.
It's really good, and it's really like you start out and you're like, oh man, is this game really good? And then you really start to enjoy all the characters, and then there's some you like and there's some you hate. And the main guy is so likable after a while.
You know what pisses me off though in that game?
What's that?
I don't know. I don't know how games are still doing this, but when the camera like changes position in that game, it like freezes for like
like you said,
it just freezes for like 15 frames. It's like, why are you? This is 2014.
I guess it's like how it's loading. Like it's like
I don't
loading.
care. The graphics are shit in that game.
But that's the thing.
It looks good, but the graphics
stylized.
It's stylized, but it shouldn't fucking take 15 frames for the camera.
I think what we're saying is the graphics aren't that good, so it should make up with the camera stuff.
I do agree, and I know what you're talking about. Like when you walk into a fucking room and your character's standing there, and then it comes in, and then there's like enemies. You're like, what the fuck?
It's how. I don't know.
Did you guys play the Telltale Back to the Future games?
They were. No. I didn't like them.
I heard they were like just boring and silly.
Really strange. You spend like 3/5 the game at like a soup kitchen or something in 1930. It's
the fuck?
What?
It's strange.
I thought it started off really interesting.
You spend.
Doesn't Christopher Lloyd actually voice Doc Brown?
Yeah, it's like dying in that.
He's like, you know what's really funny to me? If you watch the original Back to the Future, like if you watch it like on an HD screen, you could tell his makeup is like really visible.
That was like 4 years after One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
He's only 40 years old in that, but now he looks like actually Doc Brown did in that movie.
Yeah.
That was really, but he sounds way. He's like, it's like, God damn, man.
Remember when he used to be in that show with Pamela Anderson?
The show.
I forget what it was called, but it stunk.
Porno?
Doc Brown.
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd.
Pamela Porno.
The other TV series I saw that I liked was Rick and Morty. That's a pretty good show. I like that.
I like Rick and Morty.
It's a good show. It's interesting. It's a tween show, which I didn't think I was a fan of tweens, but they do it well because the art's good and the poses are really dynamic. Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
Well, they have solid in-betweens.
That's what I mean. Like they do it well. It doesn't feel like it's not like a total Drama Island kind of tweeting where it's just. I'm gonna get shut up by that, but my point is, it's not like...
Dude, Total Drama Island's animation is garbage.
But people still fucking jerk off to that show.
Yeah, well, who cares? It's like stiff and ugly.
Never seen it.
I'll say this
fucking
about...
celluloid feet that make no goddamn sense.
Rick and Morty, I hate everybody's eye pupils.
I did like that at first, but it's so unique. It's never been done before.
I can't stand it.
You don't really notice it until they zoom up really close to their faces.
I'll be honest.
The character designs they're likable but bad at the same time. It's like another TV show where the character designs it's like they're drawn. It's like the style is it's like the art of like a 15-year-old in high school. I just don't. It's really strange to me. It's it's like every popular animated TV show with like a family, it's drawn like a 15-year-old.
But it's not done in a way where it's like, oh, this is bad. Like they do it well. It's simple, but it's still appealing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you go, ugh.
If you've seen Doc and Marty, the original one,
it's like that burger.
I prefer those
show,
character designs way more.
Bob's
Have you seen Doc and Marty? It's what it's based off of.
You like Bob's Burgers?
No.
Man, I hate Bob's fucking burgers.
I've never seen it. I just hate the art style. I don't even know if it's funny or not.
Benjamin.
Chris hates Bob's Burgers. I'm not going to comment.
I can't stand his fucking voice.
If you've actually watched, it's not a show.
For me, it's kind of hard for me to not. What's his name?
John Benjamin.
John Benjamin.
I like John Benjamin. He was good as Coach McGurk. He was good.
Yeah, he was good at himself. He talks. How
movies?
Talented of him.
Home movies.
He's funny. What do you have to say for yourself? Are you John Benjamin? Fuck you. Were you in Home Movies? Fuck you.
I always thought Home Movies was a good show because of like.
I love Home Movies, dude.
Here's fucking like Brian. Like, is that like what's the kid's name? Yeah,
Brendan?
Brian. Brendan. This fucking like 8-year-old kid who doesn't play soccer and his coach is talking to him. He's like, don't waste all your money on beer, Brendan. It's stupid. Go play soccer. And he's like, don't play soccer. They suck. Okay, why are you?
That's a funny show.
I love home movies.
It's funny because it's like
I love
he
Coach
shares.
McGurk.
Yeah, he shares his life experience with this 8-year-old, and this 8-year-old is like so adult for his age. He's like, yeah, I agree. I'm making a movie.
When everyone started picking up that he had a cool voice, then yeah, he started getting overused. And
Oh yeah, but I
stand
will
it anymore.
admit that it's weird hearing. Like I still can't really. I haven't seen Anchor, but like Archer. Yeah, it's weird hearing his voice as like you would think it'd be suave, but I guess that's
I
kind of
can't
predictable.
stand the fact that he doesn't even try and change his voice for any of his roles. It's just him
I
speaking.
guess because like when they tell him, they're like, "Hey, like Michael Cera,
yeah,
that little Melvin
that's true.
nerd.
It could just be the producers being like, "Just do your thing."
Yeah, just do your John Benjamin." He's like, "You sure? I can do a."
I mean, his
I can do a
voice is
Woody
pretty
Allen."
cartoony. Like I'm sure. I know for a fact. If I got asked to do anything, people would just say, "No, do your voice. It's fine. It's fine. It's just so unique. It's fine."
Yeah.
If he had like a regular like, "Hey, I'm a guy," I'd be like, "That's a boring voice. Don't do that."
I do like John Benjamin for his.
He's really talented.
I like
improv.
Metalocalypse when I tuned in, and I really liked home movies growing up.
Recent
and
shows.
I do like Bob's Burgers.
I recommend.
I liked Fargo a lot.
Fargo?
Yeah, Fargo was the other one I was trying to think of. There was True Detective.
Oh my
Fargo.
God, The Raid.
It's a TV show.
Oh, a TV show? Well, fuck that. A movie I saw. I saw The Raid.
Welcome to 3 years ago.
I know, but I never heard of this. Nobody was like, "You need to see The Raid," and then like
all like Korean revenge movies are good.
Dude, like
is that Korean? Wait,
no, it's Indonesian.
All right, never mind. My apologies.
No, it's fine. But
Anyway,
the
Korean...
first one, it's basically kind of think of it in the style of Dread, where it gets straight to the point. They're in a place, they're locked down, but it's just filled to the fucking brim with just action and kung fu for like an hour and a half of just non-stop fighting with these crazy fucking, and it is gory, and they do not, they're not holding your hand through it. They're like fucking like ripping fucking people in half and shit with like machetes. It's nuts.
Machetes?
Yeah, machetes.
Okay.
And
What, Jeff?
the second one was good. It was filled to the brim with action, but the first one was just... The second one felt like a fucking anime. Like, it felt... Towards the end, it felt like I was, like, watching something that'd be on Toonami in the 2009s. But the first one felt like it was grounded in reality at some point. Like, somewhat, like, old action grindhouse shit. Anyways.
Snort Peps asks, "Does Linda still hate you guys?"
Linda never fucking... What is this shenanigans of Linda
she flirts,
For reference, in episode,
she flirts with me.
In the pilot or episode 1, we talked with this lady Linda, who always gave me the fuck, or not the fuck me eyes, but she always gave me the shit eyes, the stink eyes, the stink eyes, the fuck me eyes, the stink eyes,
the fuck you eyes,
the fuck you eyes, exactly.
She's nice to
Fuck
me.
you!
Chris, whenever you leave, she's like, that guy was gross.
Do you know what she does to me?
She didn't say gross.
You know what? I go up there
nice.
but when I do see her, I'm like, she's like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "I'm fine."
Yeah, me too.
How are you?
And she's
then
got
I'm
a cute.
like, "You have a good day."
She's got a cute little old lady voice. She's like,
yeah,
"Wow."
she's very polite. And then
like
when
her.
I go up there, she's like, "That'll be like $1.50," and I'm like, "Here
Sometimes
you go."
She's not the crackhead at the other Wawa that goes crazy on me every time I see him at 4 a.m.
What does he say?
Oh yeah, he's like go to a tangent. He's like, "Man, I heard this jazz song, and I'm telling you,
I
right
can't
now."
believe this fucking guy still has a job.
No, it's crazy. Like, I swear to God, me and Stamper fucking walked in, and we just wanted a goddamn sandwich. And then we were sitting there holding our sandwiches in our hand. He was like, he was talking about jazz. He's like, "Oh, this is jazz," and people were coming through like buying stuff, and he was like, "Yeah," and he was like looking to give him money and stuff, and he's just like, "Do you know what song I'm talking about?" And Stamper's like, "Yeah, I think so," and he's like pulling out names, like, "Yeah, that's the one." He's like, he's like singing it, and I'm just like.
Dude, he won't let you leave.
No, he won't.
You can't walk.
You have to hear his jazz story, and you have to talk about a center of doing.
I was buying a sandwich. There was like an 80-year-old man in front of me. This was at like 3 a.m. And he's like, "Man," and the guy pays for a sandwich and walks out. He's like, "Man, what the fuck?" He's like, "What the fuck is he doing in here at 3 a.m.? I'm like, "What?" He's like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "What's he doing here? Where is his family? Where does his family think he is? What about his kids, man? What about his kids?" I'm like, "He's 80. His kids are like 55. What are you talking about? Man, dude, this went on for like over 10 fucking minutes."
You're like, dude.
You're like
man.
Chris Rock.
Dude,
He's so funny.
He was pissed. He's like, "Whatever, man."
He's just like trying to like he's really trying to hold on to the fact that they're.
He's like insinuating the guy is out there like fucking hookers. He's like, "You know what he's doing out? You know what he's doing out here, man, at 3 a.m. I'm like, "What?"
Yes, he's exactly like that.
He's getting his fucking pills, going back to watch the History Channel for 4 hours and go to bed.
He had white hair, wrinkles. He couldn't even walk straight.
Did he have the prerequisites?
He's just an old man looking for us. He just wanted a sandwich so he could watch like All in the Family at 4 in the morning on TV time.
Before he died, like a horrible death.
Before he killed himself.
And the fucking then I went back another night, and he's like, and there was just some teenage girls like buying yogurt or something. He's like, man, you see these girls over there? I'm like, yeah. I do see them. He's like, they're gonna get picked up in here. Like, he's like, insane hookers are recruiting girls in Wawa. He's like, yeah, man, they recruit those honeys over there. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, are you serious? He's like, I've been coming to this Wawa for fucking years at 3 in the morning on a Saturday. I've never seen anything like this. He's like, yeah, man, you gotta watch out.
Like, watch out for these hookers, bud.
Yeah, watch out for these hookers recruiting girls in Wawa.
And you're gonna be with X, Jeff. They're gonna recruit you.
Like, all right.
I just want to say to him, I'm like, why aren't you fired? But he's the only one there. All these employees rotate, but he is always there at 4 in the morning. So he's the only one I can talk to.
When we were there,
I don't know if he's lonely, but yeah, he will not let you leave the counter. If you're gonna go buy something, you better hope just make sure somebody's like coming up behind you and like ducking.
Or hide your head, or be like, he's like, man, what are you doing? I got a cold.
It's exhausting dealing with him.
So that answers the question about Linda.
I don't have any bad blood with Linda. Let me tell you something.
Next question, man.
Yeah.
Who wants to what?
When you leave Wawa, when you pay for your big fat hoagie or whatever,
yeah.
When you give her the cash and the little change comes out next to the donation box.
Yeah, I don't pay with cash. I just pay with my card.
Well, okay, that you're missing out, because if you put the money in the donation box, Linda slips you a little glance at her titty.
Yeah.
Does she?
Here you go. She shows nip and she's like,
say that.
Does she lift up her skirt because it's like sitting on the floor?
Yeah, she holds up her titty and slams it on the counter and she's like, have a suck, big boy.
She doesn't do that. She's more subtle.
I'm afraid to touch her because she looks like she has like that old person tissue paper skin. If you touch her, it'll like peel off.
What if you like tease a little bit? Like, what if you roll a quarter up and down on the donation?
If you roll her titty up and down the counter,
she's like doing this. She's like, her titties are like moving all over
she's
her
like
body.
paper skin, Jeff.
Oh my goodness.
If you touched her, she'd be like, what have you done? And she'd start crumbling from the inside out and die. What have you done to me?
I feel bad. I'm mad. I'm mad because there was
she died like the guy in Indiana Jones.
Where he's like fucking melting and like his face is...
She's gonna be dead soon. I'm just gonna be nice to her.
Linda's nice to me. I have nothing.
She's nice to me too.
I only have the nicest stuff to... If you guys want to be jerks...
She always hisses at me.
Yeah, but...
It's because you're a sneaky snake.
Whenever she tries to grab me, I point the light at her and she starts to hiss and goes back into her coffin.
You look like you're up to no good, Zach.
She slithers back in.
Yeah.
She's like sliding around like a fucking...
She has a coffin in her basement that she sleeps in. Sorry, B7 Guzman, alright, asks, to all the boys with a Z, this guy's crazy, it seems to me like the quote-unquote golden age of internet humor and original content is over, with now, in parentheses, aside from the good work you guys are involved with, of course, what do y'all see yourselves doing in 2019? Or 2019.
Doing your mom, doing your mom.
That's what we're all gonna be doing.
You straight up.
2019 is what, 5 years? Oh god, it's 4 years away now, pretty much. 5 years away. Corey, what will you be doing in the year 2019? In 5 years, 4 years?
Same thing. It's like 4 years from now. Nothing's gonna fucking change. I mean,
well, you were in a different place 4 years ago. I mean, 5 years ago.
It's hard to say. I
didn't know you 5 years ago.
When you deal with future stuff, you look at stuff now. Like what
would you like to be doing in 5 years?
What I'm doing now is working and animating and doing the same fucking thing.
What are you going to be animating?
What do you want to have done by then?
I know what you're going to be doing. You're going to be working with me on this game we're working on now. Still in 5 years.
You think in 5 years?
No, yeah, we are. But I think it'll be more fleshed out, and then it'll be pro.
In 5 years?
I think we'll be like patting each other on the back.
Oh my god! Holy shit!
The real look of dread just hit Jeff in the face.
Jeff, let me tell you something. I've lived here 3 years. 2 years.
Yeah.
And time hasn't flown.
If we're not
by
done, if we're not done by then, I'm killing myself.
Hold on.
I'm serious.
Before you pull the trigger.
I'm serious.
Before you, Jeff, I joined this to keep. We gotta. I joined this.
Yeah, you can talk about it.
So you didn't kill yourself.
I appreciate it.
Jeff, what do you want to be?
Jeff Ariel Minkelstein.
Ideally, I would like to be done this huge game I'm working on. It be a success, and maybe just to change things up a bit, maybe I could be pitching like an animated show. I'd like to be working on maybe an animated show, perhaps.
I would.
Although I'm greatly enjoying working on the game, but once it's done, maybe just do something a little different.
I'm kind of the same way. I would really be like the extra cog in the wheel that helps push the thing and everything. And then after that, I would like to see myself actually animating a fucking series or something, making my own. Because I have ideas. I've had ideas for fucking ever. But I feel like now at this point, it's kind of like I'm not going to waste my time doing like fucking game parodies or shit I give no shits about, unless it's like something I'm legitimately serious about, like back then when I used to make like stuff like.
Yeah. So Gus, what about you? What do you see yourself doing in 4 or 5 years in the far off year of 2019?
I want to be producing.
Producing what?
Good content that I wrote.
What do you want to have done by then? Like what would you like to have accomplished in the next couple of years? 5 years?
I don't know. Make something. I don't fucking know. I don't have any plans. Make whatever.
Just
die.
Just rolling with it.
Yeah.
Just rolling with the.
I want to make. I definitely want to make something longer than 20 minutes at some point, and then after that, I would like to fucking be the director and have everyone do what I want and fucking not worry about shit.
Would you like people to say?
I honestly do think I'm nearing the end of fucking enjoying animating long like cartoons. I can't do it anymore. It's just it takes too long, and then
there's such a little game.
All the ones that I do finish are always the ones that people are like, oh, I didn't like that one, and then you do something fucking shitty and stupid, and it's like, that was the funniest thing you ever did. It's like, great.
Would you like to see an internet debate with people debating whether you or Hans Zimmer are better?
Oh my god. Hans Zimmer is definitely better, but that doesn't make his music any more bland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we all just want to be rich and famous.
Yeah, I just want to be able to have.
I want to be able to make stuff and not worry about the money that costs to do it.
Yeah, you know what I want?
I don't want to.
Do you know what I want? I want to be able to walk into a fucking sandwich store, a fucking bar, and be like, "What's that? Give me the most expensive martini you got."
No, seriously, my financially, my only goal financially is just to walk somewhere and be like, I don't have to check my bank account to see if I want to eat food.
Exactly.
Or get
I just want to.
Oh, I could just go out to eat tonight.
I want to walk. I want to go hang out with my friends and be like, "Oh man, that seafood was so great. Oh, $30. Don't worry, I got it."
Instead of shaking my hand and like collecting pennies from under corners, like coughing.
I'm gonna be like, hold on, and then fucking spill like old man coins everywhere.
Well, my goal is slightly, by 2015. Let's see, that's 4 years away. Be an old man by then.
I bet you guys will be much more well off.
I would have liked to at least had one season of a TV show, at least one. That's all I want, just to get my foot in the door and experience that.
I want to have one weed.
One weed? After all these years of collecting weed grades, you can finally have one big weed.
Can I have a weed, please?
I want to go to the biggest dealer there is and be like, give me one weed.
He'll be like, his jaw will start quivering, he'll drop his bag and be like, this guy wants one weed, sir. And he's like, one weed? He's like, get it for him!
You can join the weed creed.
You should have like a little series called like Corey Shorts. So it's like you just like film you going to like a drug dealer. One weed, please.
And then fucking gun gets pointed in my face and like this angle in my fucking brain, and then it's like cut to black.
Can I just say something though about this question? He wrote the words "golden age" in quotations, but he still wrote the word "golden age."
Oh, like internet humor was better.
Can I just say this is a common incorrect belief. People say, "Oh, the golden age of online animation is dead." You guys, if you really think there was a golden age of online animation, you're too young to be. You were too young or not even born.
I mean, the animation sucked.
The animation sucked. There were more parodies, not less. The humor was worse. If anything, all that's happened since like 2005 to 8, people think, "Oh, back in 2009, it was so good." Back in 2010, no.
You could watch.
You were too young to remember how fucking.
You could watch Sonic vs. Mario, and then next you could watch Zelda Goes to the Drugstore.
And that wasn't a knock on that question. I'm just saying this is. I see this so often.
The only difference is Adam fucking Phillips gave up to do freelance. He's actually storyboarding for Bob's Burgers. That's the only difference I see.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's doing stuff for Bob's Burgers now.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he's the coolest dude.
We love Adam Phillips. This is to you.
Adam Phillips, you were a faggot.
Adam Phillips. Did you do the Beast in the Woods? Isn't that what it's called?
The Bitey and Brackenwood. Yeah, he's super talented. Can I tell a short story about Adam Phillips?
Yeah. I feel bad because like
you called him a dirty Aussie fag boy.
I did, but that's not what I'm talking about. I don't even know him, so I didn't say that. But I'd like to meet him because I'm curious. Because like everyone's like, "Oh, Adam Phillips is amazing. He's so cool.
He's so."
But it's like I don't know who the fuck he is, and then I see him, and I'm like, "Who is this? Who is this cat?"
Look up Adam Phillips on Google. You'll see some of his work. He's really talented.
Tom and myself and Stamper were making a game in 2000.
Oh yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Do you know what his name is? I forget his name now.
I feel bad.
Kevin.
Before I say something,
he's Britney Spears' boyfriend, right?
I want to say
Kevin Federline. Kevin
Federline. Yeah, Tom, myself, and Stamper were making a game based on Kevin Federline where you beat up Britney Spears. It's really weird. You can juggle her baby and stuff with punches, but
wow.
We did all the art we did everything with the game, and then we said at the time Adam Phillips was like huge. Like he had like the best animation on the fucking internet, and we said we'd like him to be part of this game. So we're like, cool, what can we have him do? Because like the whole game was almost done, and we didn't want to take up all his time. So we
can have blood effects.
Well, that was close. At the end of the game, Adam Phillips starts piss. You can piss on like Britney, and we said, what if we got Adam to animate the piss?
Like
so he basically animated one piss droplet. And then gave it back to us. And Tom coded it so the piss would go all over the fucking screen, but he animated it. It's like the credits are like Stamper, Johnny Utah, Tom Fulp, and it's like in special thanks to Adam Phillips for the piss droplet.
That's sweet.
Anyways.
But I just wanted to dispel the rumor that I hear a lot from younger guys who are like 13 to 15 to maybe 17 who say there was a golden age and now it's all dead. No, you're too young to remember how it was worse back then.
There will always be good humor. There will always be bad.
Yes.
Like there was a lot of obnoxious, shitty, corny humor today, but
it was. I would say
the only difference between things change with age. Like different things that you didn't find funny before become funnier the older you get.
And I would even say, go back and watch the stuff that you think is golden. Go back and watch it. It's not that good. Like the people who, I mean, it's still good for what it was. But if you go back and watch the stuff now that you think is the golden age, it's honestly whatever. The only difference between now and then, there's exact same amount of parodies. I would say more parodies today. The only difference is today that people are better at animating.
Do you know what I feel like more or less this falls into? I feel like a lot of people let nostalgia clog their vision.
That's all it is. It's just like, nostalgia.
They remember the good times.
Way better.
Yeah.
They remember the good times. And that's another thing too. Like you see these animators, you see animations from and then you see fucking animators now, and they're like, because the bar is like set. And they're like, I gotta be like these motherfuckers.
Corey,
so they're like
Legendary Frog was the golden age.
Yeah.
He was. He really.
He really was. And then you look at the stuff now, and it's just like it's insane.
I used to think Return of Ganondorf was the funniest thing ever. And I watched it like recently. I was like, holy fuck. That's not knocking him or anything, but I was just like, Jesus Christ. I used to think this was hilarious.
It's like, have you ever wanted to play a PlayStation 2 game that you've been craving? You're like, man, I want to play that game. And you play it, and you're just like, this game's fucking dreadful.
I knew the guy who did those Napster Bad cartoons. They were like on the forefront of like new internet animation with Flash.
What's Napster?
Napster Bad. You don't know what Napster is?
Napster?
Who's Napster?
Nobody's heard of Napster.
I know what Napster was. Napster was that big mobile phone company that sold fucking ringtones.
Is that what you're talking about?
Are you guys fucking with me?
The Napster ad company. Napster, that you steal like...
I'm just showing my fucking age. I don't know.
Wasn't Napster the music website? That
it was like it was like the first like torrenting like
the music stuff.
Not torrent. Yeah, it's like you share music.
I'm pretty sure Napster also did that mobile phone shit.
For us. That was LimeWire.
I do remember
Napster was before Lime. Napster was the first.
Napster was like 2000, 1989.
Okay,
and there was like a cat head logo.
Yeah, I remember.
LimeWire was like 2005, 2004.
Napster had those ads on TV where it's like send a text message to blah blah blah, and we'll send you these wallpapers and ringtones.
They changed into that. Just to get off topic.
Though,
there was Napster. There was a big controversy. Metallica was pissed off because their music was being shared on Napster.
A lot of artists hated them.
So a guy who actually became like my boss for a while, he animated this series called Napster Bad, where James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich were cartoon characters, and James Hetfield would be like, Napster Bad, and he like swing his arm across the screen. But they were popular on the internet for a while. Yeah, they were like some of the first Flash cartoons.
Because it was controversial. Because it was topical.
They were actually not. He animated. It was very crude. The animation was crude, but it was very lively, and they were very popular at the time.
That's cool.
In like 2001 or something.
And see, this kind of falls into like the question. It's not on the paper, but it's kind of like the same vein. It's like So I'm going to be treading on water, and this is the only time I will ever talk about this. But the topic of Chris Chan.
Okay.
Because Chris Chan, as gay as it is to say, was a big part of my life. back in fucking 2007 because I made the animated series. And that's how, I mean, you guys...
That is how you pretty much got your start.
Yeah, and I didn't even fucking know anyone. I just wanted to... I thought this guy was fucking hilarious, and I thought he was a joke, like a troll, and then I found out later he wasn't, and it like, I was fascinated. It sparked my curiosity for that kind of stuff.
He's definitely, like, the only weird autistic person I would call almost brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. He made, like, a series.
Genius.
He made a series. He based his entire life, and he created, like, crayon copyrights, like fucking, like, Crayola crayons like a 5-year-old would draw. And there are 12-year-olds who have better art styles and art talent than him. And he fucking, like, made a series with Pokemon and Sonic. Sorry, but one of the most autistic franchises out there. And he put them together, and he made Sonichu. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I suckered in, and I was into the whole trolling thing. And for 4 years of my fucking life, I used MS Paint. I animated crudely, like Ren and Stimpy style drawings, overly grotesque fucking Chris Chan stuff that I eventually made like a big part of my life because that's how I started getting like attention and shit. And then it just became sadder the more Chris Chan went on. Like he became a tranny, and then his dad died, and then everyone's like, you should make fun of Chris Chan. It's like, dude, his fucking family's dead. His house burned down. And he's trying to make money on eBay, and people are still trolling him and fucking with him. I know he's a despicable person because he's like racist and stupid and ignorant and horrible.
His life adventures were amazing.
Yes,
for a while.
They were. He was just like it was incredible. If Chris Bors had a build up like that, I'm sure Chris Bors would be the legacy he could have been.
It's looking at Chris Chan's life is like looking at Walter White's life. He starts off like somebody completely. I don't even know who Walter White is,
but I know that he like completely changed because he starts off being like, "No homos, I ain't no gay," and then he's like putting his hair up. He's like, "This is how you apply lipstick."
I'm saying if you watch the last, episode and you watch the first episode, it's a completely different show.
And there's like chronologically ordered. There's an archive because let me tell you something. If you thought Chris Chan was like autistic, there are people who have archived him eating, breathing, and shitting, and it's on his website.
There's video of him as a little kid winning some contest.
Yeah.
That's actually like because he won a Sonic contest ages ago, and that's what sparked his like fandom thing.
His ranting on like not liking black girls because they're black, and there's like some audio of him trying to talk a GameStop manager.
Yes. There's so much ignorance.
Because he got kicked out. He's trying to get back into the store. I never laughed harder.
No, I'm telling you.
Like, he go to the car with his mom.
Yeah. Like Chris Chan he's an enigma, which to so many people they thought he was a troll because they're like, there's no way this motherfucker is real because it's like he's the most saddest human being ever, and it's sad because it's like. I spent 4 years of my life fucking with him, and like people are like, bring it back. And I'm like, no, let it die. It's like it's depressing. Yeah. It's not the golden age; it's the depressing age.
And Happy Harry Partridge, he loves Chris Chan too.
Yeah, he told me.
And I think I don't know if this is well known. I don't think he'd care if we shared it, but I think he contacted Chris Chan once.
Yeah, I think he said that.
He mentioned he's like, I'd like to make a game with you.
Yeah.
And Chris Chan actually turned Harry down. Like Harry's one of the best fucking animators on the internet.
He did.
And Chris Chan is like, well, you don't have like a Disney style.
You're not good enough.
No,
you're not good enough.
I'm telling you right now. That's the thing about Chris Chan. He's super conceited. He's super full of himself. And it's funny too because like he makes videos where he's like, hey y'all. He's like having like a presentation with fucking PowerPoint and like baby tools and like his Hasbro like fucking keyboard. And he's like presenting because he's very professionally presents stuff. And he's like, yeah, here's a picture a fan made. It's like really fucking well done. And he's like, yeah, she ruined the tail, it ruined the picture, so I made a new one. And then he made it. But he's like, but I appreciate fan stuff. But he will never accept the fact that someone is a better artist than him. He will always say he's a better artist. So he has to be the lead animator, the lead writer, the lead director, the lead voice actor, and you can just be a fan. That's what he would do.
I just have all these memories of him, like him running around a park with a female like sports bra on.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Didn't somebody dress him up normal and pretend? They said, "Listen, just act here, we're gonna put some fake tattoos on you, and we're gonna put you just act like this whole time your entire life has been like a trolling.
That backfired on him because
it almost was convincing.
But it backfired on him because like this other fucking Chris Chan came in and said like that's just Ian Brandon Anderson because his name on the fucking
he's
website
an imposter.
Was I am Chandler, and he's like that is a troll name. My name is Chris. Like it's funny because he's literally convinced people are telling the truth and not fucking with him. Someone would go up to him and be like, Chris Chan, I just sold fucking 40 paper medallions online. I'm making millions of dollars. And he'd come online and be like, goddamn trolls are selling my merchandise.
He gives out his personal information. He's like, this is my phone number, but don't call me.
Yes, he's a retard. He said it himself, so I can say that. And it's sad because like now it's like people link me stuff still because there's those diehard, and it's like, man, I don't care. It's depressing. I don't care. It's funny to see that he's still freaking out about Sonic and shit and still like complaining.
Well,
and it's
I got my laughs out of it.
Yeah, it's like it's over.
This one comes from Mr. Dad. If you could work on any cartoon, TV show, past or present, what would you choose and why?
So if you could work on any cartoon or TV show,
none of them.
Really, you would work on any TV show if you had the chance to, just to be a part of the production?
No.
Work on any TV show?
I just want to make my own stuff. I don't really care. I don't really
want to be a part of.
I mean, I'd work on Hellbender.
Oh, well, here we go.
I want to work on The Simpsons. So I
was gonna say
slip in a horrible joke and then quit.
It'd be interesting to work to just be there and to be one of the writers of The Simpsons, just to see how they think of stuff.
Yeah.
Or a show like that.
I like to sit on a South
I think a show
Park.
like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I would like to sit on an episode of South Park and see how shit goes on.
South Park would be fun too.
I could totally do like storyboards for South Park but that's kind of like that's arrogant as fuck. Like, hey,
well, this is assuming you could work at any show, so you could be a writer or an animator or whatever.
I would like to work at South Park for a month.
It'd be interesting to be like one of the writers who sits in the room, like Bill Hader, just to sit in there and be like, how do they, brainstorm stuff?
I'd do that. I wouldn't want to animate.
Because they would say stuff, and then you could like chime in and be like, well, what if like
this happened? Yeah,
and then you could be as vulgar as you want, because they would be fucking like, and then her pussy falls off.
Just to go on a small tangent about South Park. What do you think of these people who've been animating on South Park for years?
They're very dedicated. Like they're
do you think they could get a job in that style?
They could, but they like appreciate Matt and Trey, and they appreciate how South Park has come on. Because
I'm just speaking
a lot of the artists, if you look at their portfolios, they're very talented. So that's actually a downgrade for them, if I can say that. A downgrade.
Yeah, like they're not getting better at what they're doing. Like I'm sure they're decent animators. They probably showed them a cool portfolio.
I think it's more or less they want to be like, I work on South Park.
If you look at some of the episodes where they have like a comic book style, or like the episode with the boobs, they maybe like when it's like the heavy metal style. Like when they want to go out, the animators like sometimes they give the animators free rein. They say do whatever the fuck you want, and it looks really good.
Yeah, and like the storyboard artists are all really good too. Like they have a really unique cartoony style, and then you see like these fucking like stiff like cardboard cutouts, but you see like they're like very cartoony, like dynamically animated like angles and stuff. But then it's just like these
even their caricatures of celebrities always look really spot on. Yeah, they're always really good at that.
I do think I think it's one of those things where it's like, I work on South Park. It's like one of the most beloved shows that everyone like you either hate or enjoy, but most people enjoy.
The only criticism I have of the art, there's somebody on that staff that is a huge fan of Street Fighter, and they trace a lot of Street Fighter art.
Really? Only a Street Fighter Melvin dweeb nerd.
The episode
from Planet Idiot.
Just
Fartatron.
the episode. You know the episode where they turn into anime characters?
Oh yeah. Good
Somebody fucking traced like all this Street Fighter Alpha art.
Really?
Yes.
They didn't want to do the.
Yes, I recognize it.
They didn't want to do the extra work.
And not only that, and then like the 3-part episode where they did the like all the villains or whatever that was called. Somebody like traced Akuma and stuck them in the back. It was like a tracing of Akuma.
Wait, where all the villains come back? Is it episode 200?
It was like a 3-part thing where it was like they were dealing with all these villains. It was like all these villains.
Was it like where Carbon was like a raccoon?
And they were dealing. It was Michael. It was like the joke with Michael Bay. Michael Bay was in it too.
Oh, Imagination Land.
Yes, that.
That was it. Yeah.
But there was a shot. Like some dude on that staff is tracing Street Fighter art.
Well, it was supposed to be fair. It was supposed to be like little kids' imaginations or imaginations in general. So if somebody was thinking of
small criticism, and I'm sure they have.
I didn't even know that.
I'm sure they have no fucking.
That's a good eye.
I'm gonna find it. Just because I study Capcom art, I recognize it.
Like, you don't have a very minute form of autism?
My friends in college actually accuse me of that.
You're like watching a show. You're like, did you see that Akuma in the background?
I don't like admitting it.
That's what we call the animator eye, though. It's like, did you see that small fucking pixel in the corner?
I'm joking. But like after you do like frame by frame stuff and you do like a lot of like stuff, you look at the other stuff. And
there's a character from Street Fighter Alpha called Sodom, and he has like this armored outfit. Go look at his design. Go look at his art, and then go watch that episode of South Park. The anime episode, and you'll be like, holy shit, they traced them.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, I was watching the show, and I swear to God, I was catching, like, light flickers in fucking, like, 3D animation, and, like, if a character, like, moved his hand, and his hand was here, like, a second later,
I noticed.
And
I noticed everything.
It's crazy that, like, you're so used to working on stuff, and you're so used to, like, animating and catching, like, frames that are off a little bit, and you have to go back and fix it, that you start to catch
Chris and I were watching something, and I did that.
Rain Man. You're
I was watching.
You're like, move, you're like, frame 1034, there was a misplacement.
I was watching Family Guy years ago, and I saw it's one of the early episodes from season 1 where Death comes in. It's Norm Macdonald, and you know the thing you do where like a character's part of their body goes off the stage.
Yeah.
So you take like a line tool and you draw like under. I saw it's. We're gonna have to post a picture because it's so hard to describe if you're not an animator. But basically, when there's a stage in Flash and there's a gray area outside the white stage, and the gray area nobody can see except for the animator. And that just means stuff can come in and go off the stage. But anyways, in the actual animation, there was like lines drawn, but they entered the stage by accident. So it was like where the character's legs would come up, would start to come up at the bottom of the screen.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I posted a video. I'll post it in the description of this video.
Dude, I'm telling you, I catch that stuff now.
Yeah, exactly. That was like a 1/10 of a second. I saw it. I fucking saw it.
And stuff like, you ever notice in old, like for example, like the movie Akira, there are frames where the people mispainted something on one frame.
Yes,
dude.
It bugs me. It flashes like something's the wrong color, or they didn't.
Old 80s anime do that a lot.
Yeah, they fuck up a lot.
Like they're doing like a very like detailed thing, and there's a movement, but the background's fucking disappeared, and it's just like where an area of ground would be, and like half the picture's missing. You're like, wait, what the fuck? Because it's all like hand painted, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it's like
all the cells. Yeah, the cells get. Yeah, somebody messes up little things.
So after
every
doing,
now and
I think what it is, I think either the paint starts or that or something. Yeah, that's like a red becomes like a slightly lighter red. It's like, hey, what the? I fucking saw that.
Or like their hair isn't colored, or their hair isn't shaded on one frame.
Yeah.
Or it's like a skin color or something by accident because they paint over it.
It's like 4 a.m. and they're just like they just forget to do something. Yeah.
I think that I guarantee if you went frame by frame for one of my animations or something, even on one, like if you went frame by frame for the Street Fighter thing, holy fucking shit, would you see so much mistakes? Because I am not a cleanup man. Yes, I am. Hey, Sam, I am.
All right.
Sorry, I'm looking at it.
No, the last question of the night. This comes from Panda Mark. Favorite game of all time. Chris, what is your favorite video game of all time?
1257.
Jeff, what is your favorite video game of all time?
Street Fighter 3.
Corey, what is your favorite video game of all time?
Oh man, I hate favorite stuff.
Hurry, Corey, hurry! There's a gun to your head.
Gun to my head?
Jeff, put a gun to his head.
Answer!
What's that?
My favorite game of all time is not Five Nights at Freddy's.
It's pretty good to the game.
It's a tie. Oh! Legend of Dragoon.
Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo.
Twice. Donkey Kong Country, twice.
Fuck 2 and 3. They're good, but I like 1 the best.
Donkey Kong Country, Uno. I guess we're gonna close out. I'm Corey Spazkid.
I'm Johnny Utah. Hello. Good night.
I'm Zach. That's what they call me.
Chris, what's your name?
Sleepy boy.
Sleepy.
Ah! You see your way now.
God dang.
All right, that's it. That's a wrap.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Is not brought to you by Blue Rugs. Instead, it's supported by the generous donations of our listeners on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/thinkingsideways to learn more. And thanks.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know. Insufficient data to formulate a slide.
What? Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways, the podcast. I am Devin, joined per usual by
Joe
and
Steve.
Sup?
Here we are. Ready to solve another groovy mystery.
Yeah. This week we're going to talk about the disappearance of Rebecca Coriam. This was originally suggested by Grace via email in like April of 2015.
A while ago, which seems weird because that does literally seem like that was a few months ago to me, but guess what? It was like a year. The middle of the summer of 2016.
Yeah, I know. I'm not really ready for that idea yet. But this is a mystery that I've known about for a while and has been on my radar for a while. It's just this side of 5 years old, so we're going to do it.
Perfect.
I'm just going to do a quick little summary. Rebecca was 24 years old when she disappeared from a cruise ship. Yes, we're doing a cruise ship mystery. No, it's not the one you want.
Yeah, it's not about the other girl that disappeared from the cruise ship.
Not about.
Or that other guy.
Yeah, or that other person.
Or the hundreds of
people.
people.
Turns out there are lots of them, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And, I think this is on that drinking game that people keep talking about, but you may or may not know that I worked on a cruise ship for a while. And actually, the reason that I know about this case is I've known about it pretty much since it happened because the first ship that Rebecca worked on ported in the same ports as my ship did twice a week, I believe it was. 3 times a week. Twice a week. And then my last day on a cruise ship was literally like 3 days after she disappeared.
Okay, so are we doing the story? Or?
Yeah, let's do the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole bunch here.
There's
quite a lot of story.
A lot of stuff here, yeah.
It seemed kind of a simpler mystery when you first sent it over, so I was really surprised at how much content there was to this.
Yeah, there's a good amount.
I can see why people are excited about it.
Yeah, maybe, kind of. I don't know.
It's a little mysterious.
Rebecca was attending Plymouth University, studying sports science and youth studies. When she was a teen, she was a British Army cadet, and she taught sports at Camp America in Maine. Rebecca was from Chester, England. In 2010, Rebecca interviewed for Disney Cruise Lines and was offered a job, which is actually pretty competitive. Unlike the ship I was on, she got to go to Disneyland in Florida for training, which I'm super jealous about.
Yeah. Disney World, right?
Disney World, yeah, in Florida.
I want to go to the one in China.
It just opened. I actually have a friend who opened that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Really interested to see
She's
that one.
She's the lead of the pyrotechnics department there.
Oh,
that's kind of awesome
cool.
job.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Because I've been to Euro Disney, and it's a trip to be in Disneyland in another language. And I sort of maybe kind of know some of what's going on, but I'd really like to see it in the one that's in China.
Mm-hmm. I also, while I'm in China.
The one in Japan.
Yeah, while I'm in China, I want to go see that replica of the Titanic that guy's building.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
Yes, it is.
I want to see the miniature reproduction of the Great Wall as well.
Okay, so Rebecca was placed on the Disney Dream. I'm pretty sure that's the one. It never really says, but that was the one that I was with, and it's the contract that it looked like she was on. So, and for the record, I keep saying this. I never met Rebecca or anything like that, so don't worry. But I know people who worked with her. So she was on a 4-month contract. She did a 2-month vacation in between contracts, which is pretty typical. And then she did her next contract on the Disney Wonder, which ports out of LA. And I think her first cruise was actually a relocate cruise because when they talk about her time on that cruise ship, they talk about going through the Panama Canal. And a relocate, for those who are unfamiliar, is outwardly facing, called a repositioning, which basically a lot of cruise ships do winter kind of bad months in the Bahamas and Eastern Caribbean, and then they come over and do the West Coast Caribbean
of the United States.
Yeah, of the United States and the Alaska cruises during the summer. So they have to reposition. Basically, they go, through the Panama Canal and up, and it's usually a 14-day trip. And guests can go on those trips, but also, obviously the crew has to be on board at the same time.
Well, probably a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, they do. Although I was really jealous. I saw when the Wonder was going over for the first time. It was a brand new ship, and they did their Atlantic crossing without any passengers because it was a brand new ship, but they had crew. And then they also did their first run of their any passengers, and so you would look over and it was just crew members. Like, we had these big laundry buckets that you would dump all the laundry into, and they were just like running down the promenade, like racing each other with these, like, it was and they got to they had the full run of the ship, and these ships are big, they're made
huge.
for a lot of people, and it was just the crew.
That would be awesome.
It looked really awesome. I was so jealous.
Well, yeah, because normally as a crew member you can't go into all the fun party areas where the guests are.
We'll talk a little bit more about the culture of cruise ships in a minute, but some people can, like I could, but not very many people.
You did mention something that I want listeners to understand, which is the sheer scale of these ships.
Oh, yeah.
I pulled up the maps, and they are, and these were the
small ships.
Well, these were the maps that were the ones that are available on the internet from Disney that show, so you can pick your room, what deck you want to be on, and it's still so much space, let alone all the areas that passengers don't get to go to.
I actually looked at those maps. They're pretty representative. It's just like 3 decks below that they don't really have. Yeah.
Those ships are so gigantic that I expect it to be another 5 or 6 decks down.
Well, you can't go too far down because you get into the mechanics.
That's what I'm including when I.
Oh, you are? Then yeah, I guess I don't actually know the actual scope of.
I don't want to know.
Far up. But yeah, they're pretty representative of what.
But they're gigantic.
They are big.
When you look at these rooms, and the average cabin, I think, was on this Disney ship was 250 square foot.
Yeah, that's a big. To me, that's a big room.
On a ship, that is actually quite a bit of room.
But did you look at the map? There are 1,000 and 2,000 square foot suites that are just. I couldn't imagine those things, but of course they're way high up. But it's a huge ship, tons and tons of room, tons and tons of hallways. You get lost on those things.
Yeah, anytime there's crew members that probably have like 36 square feet, in their little cell
closet.
It's less than that. Sometimes.
Less than 36.
So there are rooms that are, I would say, probably about 36 square feet, but you share that with like 3 or 4 people.
Because it's bunk on top of bunk on top
It's
of bunk.
4 bunks up. It's 4 bunks tall. So you've got the 4 bunks, and then there's a tiny little wardrobe for each person that's built into the wall. And then there's 2 desk spaces and 4 safes, and that's it. Oh, and a bathroom. Well, actually, in those ones, I don't think they had. The room that I was in, I had a bathroom in mind, but it is the kind of bathroom where the whole thing is the shower.
Yeah, I know.
There's a drain in the middle of the floor. Yeah, like that.
I think I led us astray there. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's all stuff that we will end up talking about.
Yeah,
well, most of it. Rebecca was a youth worker. I think Disney actually calls them youth activities counselors, which seems like still an oddly normal name for Disney. This is the kind of place where Disneyland, I think everybody's called a cast member.
True.
They're all cast members.
So the youth activities counselors are basically there to keep the
They're
kids
babysitters.
Keep the kids busy so mom and dad can actually have some
go
fun.
drink.
Yeah.
It's go drink.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds really awful, but it's true. If you've ever been on a cruise ship, that's what you do. Is you go drink.
Mm-hmm.
I went on a cruise and it was no kids allowed, and it was the greatest thing ever at first until I realized how drunk all the people around me were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they all inclusive fares? I mean, do you get all your food and booze?
So I don't know how DCL works. I'm sorry, Disney Cruise Lines. I'm going to call it DCL. But the line that I was on, which I will not name, is the kind of thing where there are certain restaurants and buffets on the ship that are included, and then there are others that you pay on top of your fee. And I don't think any of the bars, except for, of course, the casino bar, were complimentary, but there were a lot of events where you could get complimentary alcohol. Like when you boarded the ship that I was on, they handed you a hurricane.
A lot of the ships charge you for the booze because that's where they're making some serious cash. Because I have family that would go on at least 2 cruises a year, and they were always packing their cocktail mix in their luggage.
And you have to pack it in, like mouthwash or something like that. They'll confiscate. You're not allowed to bring liquor on.
Do they actually look in your luggage?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
It seems rather cheeky.
Why? It has to go through a scanner and everything.
Oh, really? I see.
Are you kidding me? Can you imagine a bomb on a boat?
I guess that's true.
I'm just saying. Boats are scary enough as is. So let's talk a little bit about Rebecca again.
That's a good idea.
Rebecca was described as generally a happy person, a kind of a prankster, all around upbeat.
You would have to be to work for Disney.
Well, it's interesting. There's an article we're going to reference a lot, which is the Guardian article, and the author of that went on a Wonder cruise. And he was talking to one of the guys who was re-varnishing railing, and he said, okay, so what's it like actually, though? What are you guys like actually? And he was like, no, it's not an act, which you kind of have to say.
Yeah.
But I think that the people who get hired for Disney versus other cruise lines are Disney people.
Yeah.
They're upbeat and generally happy.
There's a certain brand of people who like working on a ship for Disney, just like there's a certain brand of people who love to work at the theme parks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it was me, they'd have never hired me because they know I would have gone psychotic in the Goofy costume 2 days in.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're going to work with the public and all that, you've got to be kind of a happy person.
Yeah, if you have to, there's a natural inclination that they're looking for.
Yeah, and it's Disney specific. I mean,
Right.
I got hired on a cruise ship, so anybody could, but you have to find the right one. It also sounds like she had a partner or a lover on the ship, but we'll kind of get to that later.
Yeah, I question some of that, but
I do too. Yeah. On to the story.
Okay.
On March 21st, 2011, the Wonder pulled out of the LA harbor, heading on a normal voyage down to the Mexican Riviera. Rebecca sent a Facebook message to her parents saying she was planning to call the next day. Later that night, Rebecca was hanging out with one of her friends in the crew area, and she referred to it as a secret corridor, and we'll talk about that later too. That Guardian article, the author actually spoke with that friend that Rebecca was hanging out with, and he called her Melissa, which I don't think is her real name, but we're going to use Melissa because that's the only name I have for her.
There we go.
And she said they were hanging out in this secret corridor, which really just means an unmonitored crew hall, which there are some. And again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Melissa reports that Rebecca had been trying to peel her fake eyelashes off. It seemed vaguely like the sort of thing that she would do when she was drunk. That's sort of like drunk person
Peeling
behavior.
off Melissa's fake
eyelashes. Yeah. But she had just gotten off work, so I don't think she was drunk.
And that's highly frowned upon, isn't it? Being
drunk. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to break up this story too much.
Okay.
So we'll circle back around to that.
I would think there'd be nothing else to do.
Again, we'll circle back.
Okay.
Yeah. Melissa says that Rebecca asked her if she was going to go to the crew bar tonight, or that night, I guess. And Melissa said she would, but ended up not doing so. And then I haven't been able to find the CCTV footage of this next part, so please keep that in mind. But apparently at 5:45 a.m., Rebecca was on one of the internal phones with someone, and reports are that she seemed kind of distraught. And she hangs up the phone, and another crew member walks up to her and appears to ask if she's okay. This is CCTV, so there's no sound.
There's no audio, right?
And I have seen actually stills from this footage, and I really can't see how they can even recognize whether it's Rebecca, much less whether she's distraught or not, because it's so fuzzy and so low res.
Well, it's hard to tell if it's, with the low res stuff, sometimes it's easier to actually tell what's going on when it is moving than it is from screen caps.
Probably.
And then again, I don't know, since I haven't seen the footage, I don't know if it's actual screen caps or somebody took, a picture with a crappy phone or what.
Yeah, I've seen this.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, we've all seen probably the same 2 or 3 images, and they are extremely hard to tell what's going on. So I question it too. It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Well, so apparently she seems distraught, and then the fellow crew member walks up to her and says, "Are you okay?" And she appears to respond, "Yeah, fine." And people report this is a clear lip reading. There's reports that the phone call was recorded, but I'm not sure if that's true or not.
That's what I heard. That's kind of creepy that they're recording everybody's internal phone calls.
That's a massive amount of data.
Mm-hmm.
Could you think about the massive amount of data?
Well, that's why I'm not so sure.
All of that would be. Yeah, that's why I don't
just
agree with
all the camera footage.
Yeah.
Alone.
Yeah. I think it's likely that they have phone records. I mean, I think that Disney's telling the truth when they say that they know who the call was between, but I don't think they know what was said. That's silly.
I'd agree with that. Okay.
Anyway, Rebecca walks down the hall. She's seen, quote, pushing her hair back and putting her hands in her back pockets, unquote, which is apparently typical behavior for her.
According to her parents.
According to her parents and her friends. And then that's the last time anybody's ever seen her.
At least officially.
Officially. Rebecca was scheduled to start a shift at 9 a.m. on March 22nd, but when she failed to show up, they obviously raised the alarm and paged her and checked her room and searched the ship and nothing. And this is very important to note because you will see this overlooked in almost everything. It's very important to know that the night of the 21st to the 22nd was a sea day. And what that means, for those of you who don't know what that is that the ship did not port at all. It left LA, and between the time that it left LA and the time that Rebecca disappeared,
it was underway.
It was in the middle of the sea the entire time.
Yeah, out of sight of land, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they never go so far that it's insane. Well, I mean, sometimes they do, but on these routes, they're pretty close to the sea, but you don't
the
see
land.
Yeah, I'm sorry, pretty close to the land, but you don't see it.
They're always close to the sea.
Yeah, pretty dang close, in fact, yeah. So that's very important for a lot of reasons, but I'm just going to keep mentioning that. And they did search the entire ship before they made port.
Okay.
Very important.
Okay.
Cool. There was an early report that a fellow crew member said that they had seen Rebecca go overboard at 3 a.m. Obviously, with the discovery of the CCTV footage, that is incorrect. And also, I will just go ahead and state that if you see someone go overboard, you call a code.
You don't just ignore it and go to bed.
You don't just ignore it and go to bed. You notify the bridge. And if you don't, actually for somebody to come forward and say, yeah, I saw somebody go overboard at 3 a.m., but I didn't notify anyone and didn't try to render help, could be a terminable offense.
If not having charges levied against you.
Yeah, because you are responsible for their death, basically. Yeah. Not entirely, but basically. So I think that that's been added to the story, if I'm honest, but that's just my opinion, man.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah. The Wonder and the crew of the Wonder did report. They called it in. You know, they let the Coast Guard know. They let the Navy know, the Mexican Navy know. They let pretty much everybody in the area know.
That a crew member lost at sea.
We're missing a crew member. We don't really know when we lost this crew member, but please can you help us look for her? So the U.S. Coast Guard and the Mexican Navy did search the international waters that the Wonder was sailing through in the time that they thought she might have gone overboard. I think they kind of... First, they were thinking maybe it was 3 a.m., and then they found the CCTV footage, and then they thought, okay, so in between probably 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., she went overboard. And I think they probably used some deductive reasoning and thinking probably it was before daylight.
That makes sense.
Probably.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
It is reported that the seas were rough at that time, so it's pretty unlikely that she would have just been, floating there, waiting for somebody to come find her.
In a calm spot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. But I heard that night that she went overboard, if she did indeed go overboard, it was kind of rough seas, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was rough seas, so it would be unlikely without any kind of flotation device or anything like that. It'd be hard. I think, if she went overboard, she would have been lost.
Well, and the difficulty is not knowing exactly when and where she could have gone in the water. Because I actually tried to track down the conditions of the sea at that time, but what I kept running into is that it's location based, and then when you get farther out, it was really kind of tough.
It's hard,
I could never say, oh yeah, no, there was this giant storm. I couldn't find any of that easily.
But I also don't know why Disney would lie about that, and we'll talk about this in the theories a lot more.
Oh, there's going to be a whole bunch of theories of finger pointing of lying Disney.
Yeah, I assume that the security on the ship did a preliminary investigation. However, since the Wonder, like almost every ship that does any circuit kind of around America, is registered in Nassau in the Bahamas, the incident happened, and the incident did happen in international waters. It fell to the Royal Bahamian Police Force to investigate. One officer was assigned to this case, which does seem slim. I will agree with that.
It's only one missing person. I can see why they would do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the fact that it's a big ship.
I totally understand.
And he only arrived after the ship ported back in LA, so I think that would have been like 4 days later after she disappeared. And he only spent a day on the ship. Rebecca's parents, Mike and Anna Maria, were notified on the 22nd that Rebecca had gone missing. They were in England, so it was very nighttime for them. They were about to go to bed. They had been already worried anyway because, they didn't hear from her that day.
That's right.
They were
she was going to
expecting a
call.
Yeah. They flew out to LA and met the ship in LA also on the Friday after Rebecca went missing. They claim they were kept in a car with darkly tinted windows while the passengers disembarked. Then they were taken to meet the captain, who offered condolences and told him that he thought Rebecca had gone overboard. Her parents were then taken to a meeting with some Disney executives and the woman that had reportedly been on the phone with Rebecca at 5:45 a.m.
In the CCTV footage.
Yeah.
I know I just hacked all those letters up.
That's okay. It was rumored to have been a mutual friend of Rebecca and this mysterious partner, or maybe the partner, but I think it was a mutual friend. And now, this is a shame, but Mike and Anna Maria didn't get to ask a lot of questions in that meeting because they were very jet lagged. They hadn't slept since Monday night, right? They slept Monday night. They woke up Tuesday morning, evening. And they hadn't slept the entire time. They'd just flown in from England. And frankly, they thought they were going to get to talk to this group again, which it turned out, no. They weren't. They also have expressed that they really wanted to talk to the passengers on the ship. And now
that's a lot of people to talk to.
It's a lot of people to talk to. It confuses me a lot. You know, the Wonder is approximately the same size as the ship that I was on. That means that there would have been probably, assuming that it was even, partially full.
Round figure.
It was probably like 2,400 guests and 900 crew. So the likelihood of just randomly finding a passenger who interacted with your daughter, who works on the ship, who was frankly only on the ship for a couple of hours while you would have maybe interacted with her, seems slim.
Well, yeah, and they could do something like before they disembark, put out something on the PA system so everybody can hear it. Say, hey, one of our crew members disappeared. Please come look at a photograph of her. But they like to make it a happy thing. They don't want to actually be putting stuff like that out of the PA
I was going to say, I'm going to say this right now. I'm not going to defend Disney. I'm going to sound like I'm defending Disney in this several times. But they're not going to do that because what do they want their guests to do? They want their guests to have a great time and spend a bunch of money and come back and do it again.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're going to – everything is insular. You keep the parents here, you keep the crew here, you keep the guests over there, and never shall they mix.
Well, and frankly –
and it's too big of a pool of people.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the thing that Disney probably thought, which is what I think, is that there's no reason. There's no reason for any of these passengers to speak with distraught parents.
Yeah.
There's just not.
That would take days.
And frankly, you don't really, you probably don't want the passengers to know that somebody disappeared from their cruise.
Probably not, yeah. And
that's not something you want passengers to know.
There's good reason that cruise lines keep that kind of information kind of buttoned up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and actually not that many people disappear off cruise ships every year, but...
we'll talk about this in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So Rebecca's parents were, after they had this kind of short meeting, they were taken to her room and given her things. One of the items they were given was either a pair or one slipper or flip-flop. I'm not quite clear on which one.
Yeah,
it was pink and flowery.
I usually hear it as flip-flop, but I've seen the slipper one too.
Singular.
Yeah, one. This slipper/flip-flop had been found the morning of the 22nd near the crew pool.
Up in the bow of the ship?
It's on deck 5 in the bow of the ship. It's pretty typical of cruise lines to have a crew pool, have crew-specific areas. As we were talking about, I would say that like 85% of the crew, well, probably more like 60% of the crew, is not allowed in passenger areas at all. And then on top of that, only like 5% max, probably more like 2% of the crew are allowed to socialize in passenger areas. That means passenger bars, passenger pools, passenger restaurants, anything like that.
So would that 60% you're talking about be people who are working like laundry services or engine maintenance or those kind of, I know these are very broad categories, but those kind of things that guests have no reason to know you exist for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are a lot of ways to get around to every area of a ship. I mean, it's even things like the maintenance people. You're allowed to be in a very specific passenger area to perform your maintenance task, and then you have to use the nearest crew door and get back into crew quarters and crew area to get to your next spot. You can't walk through passenger, hallways or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. So there's this whole underground thing.
It's huge.
It's all
secret.
Yeah.
It is, and it's all over the place, and it's really well hidden throughout a ship. If you've been on a cruise ship, you probably were walking right parallel to crew members and you didn't even know it. But, you want to keep your crew happy. I mean, they're stuck in this tin can.
Well, they get their own bar and their own swimming pool.
We would get our own bar, you get your own swimming pool, you get your own lounge area, you get your own mess hall. I wouldn't call it a restaurant. I wouldn't say it's necessarily very nice, but you do get your own mess hall, get your own gym with weights and workout equipment and stuff like that. I mean, it's crummier versions of all the stuff that passengers have, but you get all the stuff that passengers have. And it's a good use of that bow space that, like, what else are you going to put out there? You definitely don't want passengers on the bow of the ship.
No, that's definitely the roughest place to be on the ship.
Yeah, it is. And, I mean, that's a good point to make, is that it's pretty much the roughest, most dangerous area of a ship, which is why you don't...
It's the most up and down action.
It does, yeah.
And you can see photos of that, by the way. You can see that crew pool in photos.
I would encourage you to look at those pictures, and you can find pictures specifically with crew members, like when, any of the ships are going out of port or anything like that. You can see there's crew standing there, so you can really get a scope of what the size of everything looks like. Because it's hard to tell when it's just a picture of the bow from land. It's almost impossible to tell what's going on.
Did you guys see the Minecraft version of this ship?
No.
Oh, it's really cool. I don't know how to play Minecraft, so I didn't do anything, but evidently you can download. She was on this is the Dream, is that correct?
Wonder,
thank you. Somebody built the Wonder in Minecraft. I was like, holy crap, and I watched a quick fly-through. It's really interesting.
Wow.
People have way too much time on their hands. Like people like us who record podcasts.
I don't know. What do you do with this thing?
I don't know. I don't know how Minecraft works. Please, nobody send me an email on how Minecraft works. I just haven't looked it up.
Yeah.
We do know how to Google, I promise.
Yeah, I think so.
And there's also some mystery about the slipper flip-flop thing, because there's been some speculation that it wasn't actually Rebecca's.
Mm-hmm. Could have been left there by anybody, really.
Could have, that's true.
Anybody on the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
anyone on the crew. That's the end of the story, and that's the end of the investigation. The only other things really are that about 2 weeks after Rebecca's disappearance, her family got an email from a bank that said that there had been some activity on one of her accounts in the last few weeks. This gave the family hope that Rebecca was alive, but I think it was a bit misplaced. And apparently they had not previously been aware of this account. They were eventually able to find the paperwork in Rebecca's things that she had opened this account, but they didn't find her cards.
Yeah, it was just a regular credit card. It wasn't a bank card.
Yeah, I think she probably got it in America.
Yeah, probably in her training time.
Yeah. So that gave the family some hope that she was alive, but again, all this stuff we'll talk about in a minute. And then after that, in that September, Rebecca's uncle...
Of 2011?
Yeah, of 2011, found that someone had changed the password on Rebecca's Facebook. And I think they had been maintaining it, the family had been maintaining it just to, if somebody was trying to contact her, or maybe she was trying to contact her, her
it's
family
an
or anything like
easy thing
that.
to keep an eye on and have the access to.
And also to maintain as a memorial.
Right.
And Facebook now will turn pages into memorials, and that changes the way that they work a little bit. But apparently somebody logged in and changed the password, which again gave the family a little hope that she was alive. And then on March 21st, 2012, a woman emailed the family claiming to have seen Rebecca in Venice. She said she was 85% sure it was her. The passport had been in her belongings, so she would have had to find a different way into Europe.
That's easy. You just go to Libya and hire a smuggler to take you across the Mediterranean. It's safe.
Yeah.
It's cheap. It's
safe as a
easy.
young white woman. You're right.
And getting from Los Angeles to Libya is super easy.
Really, you just swim, I think. Yeah.
It would be an adventure.
Yeah. Let's circle back around and talk about just a couple things real quick here.
We've got the CCTV. I cannot say that stupid acronym. Closed circuit television.
Yeah. So there is closed circuit television, or CCTV, because I can say it, all over cruise ships. And you can imagine, I'm sure, that there are less CCTV cameras. There are less cameras in crew areas than there are in passenger areas. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you can figure out why. But there are a lot of areas that one could go that wouldn't be covered by cameras in crew areas. You're not going to monitor every hallway that you know the crew people are going to be in that isn't in any area of any consequence. Yeah. Well, yeah, and you're not as concerned about the crew, frankly, which is kind of, callous to say, but it's true. Well, you cast a wider net on their activities. You don't try and focus on every angle of the hallway. Yeah, exactly. So it is possible that Rebecca moved around the ship without there being any more CCTV footage of her, although I do think there probably was at least one camera at the crew pool. That seems like the kind of place on the bow of the ship. That's what the Guardian article mentioned, but it's also notable that the author of that article was very clear in the fact that he couldn't tell if that was a new or a previously existing camera. No, he said there are cameras on the promenade, the deck 4 promenade, which is where he originally thought that Rebecca had fallen from until he started talking to the crew. Mm-hmm. He said there were cameras there. He didn't have access to the crew area, so he would have had no way of knowing if there were cameras in the crew pool or not. See, I thought somehow he had gotten himself into the crew pool area. No. Okay, then I'm wrong, which is not surprising. If he were on my ship and somebody let him in, you would be in big old trouble. Like a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, your press pass doesn't get you in there. Yeah. Well, his wouldn't. That's true, yeah.
And they might not have had one in the crew pool, actually. It's possible. But it kind of looks like, but I can't be 100% certain, kind of looks like from up on the bridge, the control room, where the captain and the pilot is and everything, they would be able to see down into the crew pool area. Yeah, so But I'm not 100% sure that they can. We'll talk about that in theories. Oh, okay. Yeah. The other thing I do want to mention is I talked about Rebecca being maybe seeming a little drunk. Possibly potentially drunk, yeah. But she was just getting off shift, which makes me think... I thought she got off her shift at 2? She just got... Sorry, when she was trying to pull Melissa, quote-unquote Melissa's eyelashes off. Earlier... Yeah, that she had literally just gotten done with work. And so that makes me think that she was not drunk because it's super unallowed. And that's not to say that people don't break the rules. And yes, it is true, Joe, that it's almost the only thing to do as a crew member when you're not working is to drink. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of really, really harsh restrictions on that. And again, I didn't work for DCL. I worked for a different cruise line, which again, I'm not going to tell you which one it was because I don't want you to know. But on the cruise line that I worked for, crew members were forbidden to have a blood alcohol level above 0.05. Like, seriously. This is for a ton of reasons, obviously. Yeah. And does apply to literally all crew. In fact, that's the minimum. Or the maximum, I guess, is really the better way to say it. Obviously, the higher ranking you go, the less intoxicated you're allowed to be. I was friends with the first mate on our ship. He was one of only 4 Americans in the crew of 900. So you were one of the other 4? I was one of the other 4. And he was only allowed to drink off ship and had to be under 0.02 at all times when he was on the ship. Well, if he's not drinking on the ship, how can he even be 0.02? When they're at port. When you're at port. Oh. So we actually had... You have to sober up before you walk back on board. The only time I was on that ship for 6 months, and I hung out with him a lot. And the only time I ever saw him drink was when we had to stay in port overnight in Nassau because there was a storm that we couldn't get out of port. And that was the only time I ever saw him drink. And he had 2 drinks over the course of 6 hours. And that was it. And that's life for those people. Again, you can imagine why you would require your crew to be that sober. Oh, hey, we have this major catastrophe. Follow Drunky McDrunkerson over there. Exactly. To the lifeboat. Exactly. The crew is the emergency crew. There's no one else to help you off the ship if something goes wrong. And so you can't, they are. The crew is the firefighting crew. And it's not just... There's some people on the ship who are specifically firefighter crews. It's no, you leave your job that you're doing, your other job, and go fight that fire that's on the ship.
if somebody's having a medical emergency and you're on the medical team, yes, there are doctors on there, but there are also emergency medical responders, and they're selected, again, from all different areas of the ship. And so if it happens that you are super, super drunk, like really, really drunk, and something goes wrong, suddenly you're in charge of trying to get people off a ship. It's a huge liability. On top of that, while we're talking about liability, of course, there's the liability of, if you get drunk and do something stupid, technically the ship is liable in ways of, like, if you hurt yourself, but also if you hurt a passenger.
Yeah.
In any way.
Can't happen.
Yeah. You can't get drunk. You really can't get drunk on the job, and you're required to stop drinking 2 hours prior to your shift. So I don't think Rebecca was drunk at that time. I think she probably was drunk later.
So this is not World War II sailor drinking style.
No.
Nowhere near that.
Mm-mm.
Can I ask a question real quick? So the closed circuit television of supposedly Rebecca on the telephone, was it, what time do we know? What was the
5:45?
5:45
5:45?
Yeah.
Okay. And the friend under the name Rebecca, Melissa, says that they were hanging out at about 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
And she was supposed to be reporting for duty at 9 a.m.?
I know. That's what I was thinking, too.
This timeline, I mean, I get it. She's in her early 20s. Sleep doesn't matter. I remember those times a long time ago.